This guy is our main character, just a side character who wants to live a normal life. But his destiny is to fall in love with the great female villains, the student council president with overwhelming power, and the beast-eared assassin girl who can send people to their graves in the blink of an eye. The demon girl is an SSS rank mage. Okay, no more rambling, let's get started. According to the butterfly effect, the fate of humanity can be changed by a single, small choice. In other words, it's a damn phenomenon, at least for me. Because up until now, I've made quite a few regrettable decisions. Suddenly, a loud banging on the door and a loud voice made him freeze. Honey, are you listening to me? I'm coming in because I know you're in there, so you better open the door. I already asked Philly, the dorm manager. She said you don't have any classes today. Are you planning to ignore me until the very end? He was now extremely annoyed by that ear-splitting voice. She's no different from a stalker. Then, the person outside began to growl, and a knife tip pierced through the wooden door. Fine, then I'll force my way in myself. Seeing that, he panicked, drenched in sweat with his eyes wide open. This crazy woman, seeing the door being tortured by horizontal and vertical slashes, panicked and shouted to stop her. This is a violation of the rules. The student council president is the one who carries out punishments on rule breakers. More and more slashes appeared on the door, along with a terrifying threat. Too bad for you. Because I am the student council president. The person quickly strode in confidently. You've been avoiding me a lot lately, haven't you? To be specific. 32 times. Collapsed onto the floor in fear. You counted? Elo's beautiful face and gorgeous figure were partially hidden under her hat. I have a question for you. A shiny silver-toed shoe was placed on the floor. Do you want to marry me? He sat in panic on the floor, looking at her. Elo, wait. Another voice suddenly rang out, causing to break out in a cold sweat as he turned to look. What are you talking about? Princess Chester. Zeres was sitting on the windowsill, speaking to her in a provocative tone. I can't believe you're targeting a man who's already taken. Is that how your family operates? He recognized her and cautiously called out Zeres' name. Elo shot Zeres a sharp glare. This place seems a bit too bright for an assassin to hide. Aren't there too many witnesses? She wasn't scared at all, sticking her tongue out and winking mockingly. Killing all the witnesses is my motto, princess. Became even more anxious. He leaned against the wall, looked up, and frantically objected. Wait, this is really awkward for me. I've never even thought about getting married. Another loud noise echoed as a voluptuous figure with striking blue hair landed in the room from the roof. Her and Zeres' attitudes both grew somber, while only his face turned ashen as he called out Lilu's name. Lilu shouted, Hey, She smiled cheerfully and made her proposal. Come live with me. The more Lilu spoke, the more shocked Dot's eyes became. The wedding preparations are almost finished. Now all you have to do is come with me. Suddenly, Dewey appeared from behind, radiating killing intent as she threw a chain forward. How rude. She nonchalantly walked in front of him. Well, what on earth do you do every day to get surrounded by such a troublesome bunch? As your fiancé, I can't just ignore this. He couldn't believe his eyes. Dewey. Following that shock was the image of Finon making a grand entrance on a magic broom, with torrents of fire swirling around her. Could you all just shut up? You despicable fools. Is mine. Hearing those arrogant words, he couldn't seem to control his emotions. Finon and Elo exchanged cold glances. It seemed this had truly turned into a battle for him. Zeres was not to be outdone. You people are really delusional. Lilu hastily urged him. What are you still standing there for? Hurry up and come with me. Dewey quickly offered him a solution. Well, I think you should just reject them all. Finon was very serious about competing, looking at him and saying, if anyone objects to something that has already been decided, then there is only one outcome. In the end, was surrounded by 5 headstrong and domineering women, leaving him so pale he looked drained of all blood. These women started lunging at each other to fight a decisive battle. Trapped in the middle, he felt like he was about to have a meltdown and scream his head off. How long are you all going to keep up this ridiculous argument? Oh, right, the survival game that pushed me into this situation is called Savior Zing, or SE for short, a bright academy story for passionate young people. It had a slightly strange feel, but the characters were familiar and stable. Like every other time, I beat the game Savior Zing and watched the ending. I found it quite interesting and felt pretty satisfied. But then the next day, I got sucked into this world. Ta-da! Does this make any sense? It's not like I cursed the game and got targeted by some god-tier programmer. You know, I didn't even have any feelings for the main character. Anyway, I've been transmigrated into it as a completely powerless guy, the son of a Viscount. An unnamed Viscount, a third-rate background character in this world. The Cambio territory relies mainly on agriculture, and there aren't any dungeons. The kind that are found all over the Empire. It was only mentioned in passing in the story's introduction. So, the fact that a Viscount's son was accepted into the Royal Academy was world-shaking news. His father spoke up. You're finally leaving. Dot replied cheerfully. Yes, father. I'm off. Viscount Cambio wiped away his tears and said emotionally, You are the pride of our domain. Stay healthy and don't cause any trouble. Elfan is where the children of nobles from all over the empire gather. The best thing you, a Viscount's son, can do is to not draw any attention. Understand? He smiled obediently and replied, Yes, I understand. The system displayed his information. Status information, dot. Strength, F. Agility, F. Stamina, F. Luck, F. Power. Skill information, no skills. Proficiency information, no special talents. Special gift, none. He frowned helplessly, thinking that everything was F rank. Even a veteran gamer had never seen anyone with such pathetic starting stats. The system displayed a notification, main quest, enroll and be assigned to a class. According to the game's system, if I skip the quest, it's game over. An Elfan Academy, where I'm about to enroll, will soon fall into chaos because of the villain's rampage. I won't do anything that could endanger my life. He confidently reassured his father. Don't worry, father. I'll do my best not to attract anyone's attention. His helpless father quickly denied it. That's not what I meant. But before he could finish, Dot cut in. I don't want to have any pipe dreams about raising the domain's reputation. Under the clear blue sky, he was determined not to attract attention. He said firmly, I don't need to get high scores either. I just need to be average. Viscount Cambio stammered, trying to interrupt him. That's not what I meant. Isn't the protagonist supposed to handle everything? I'm supposed to be invisible at the academy. My school life begins. Dot's face suddenly darkened when he saw the person opposite him. But why am I in the same carriage as her from the very beginning? Elo, the bloodthirsty. Elo, the one who piles up corpses. Elo, the Asura god. She is the final boss of this world. In the scenarios, she and the protagonist constantly fight, and her sanity gradually collapses. The dormant existence within her, the Grey Demon, will eventually devour Elo's body, and then she becomes the final boss, unbeatable by anyone except the protagonist who has completed her final development arc. Elo was reading a book and softly asked him, Are you okay? You don't look very well. Hearing this, he quickly stammered with a forced smile, Oh, I'm fine. He thought to himself, noble ladies seem to care a lot about their image. She said coldly, The fact that I am sitting here instead of in the first-class cabin was a deliberate decision to show that we, a high-ranking noble family, are also approachable. I'm sorry for making you worry. Everyone who shares a carriage with me has the same expression. He thought in astonishment, She's different from what I remember. The keywords used to describe Elo are meritocratic, perfect, and bold. But what's with this sensitive side of hers? Her gaze slowly lifted, her sparkling, light pink eyes looking at him. She asked, Why aren't you answering? Is there something else you're curious about? He awkwardly scratched his head and stammered, Oh, it's nothing. You're just surprisingly kind. Elo picked up her cup of water and asked softly, Surprisingly, have you heard something bad about me? He quickly tried to object, but before he could say anything, she raised her voice and continued, Have we perhaps met before? He thought to himself, I must be crazy. Seeing her sigh, he answered her, I just heard you were rather strict. She replied, You're a strange one. Dot's face darkened as he admitted awkwardly, Yes, well, I get that a lot. He silently told himself, I'm just a background character. Don't get involved, don't get involved. It's best to stay quiet and look outside. Now that I think about it, the scenery around here is magnificent, and those large rocks are rolling towards us. Wait a minute. What the hell? His eyes widened in shock as he saw a boulder flying towards him. He whispered, The student council president. Elo hummed in confusion. Dot quickly reached out to her while casually saying, Excuse me, may I ask you something? The huge boulder, moving at an incredible speed like a blazing fire, smashed right into the window where he was sitting. Identify armor and craft armor for an adult skeleton. Elo always carries that with her. I can't survive with all F-rank stats. His action made Elo's eyes widen in bewilderment. Elo asked, Are you okay? He buried his face in her chest with a satisfied expression and mumbled, She continued to ask, Can you move? You're heavy. When he lifted his face, he gasped in shock. Ah. He awkwardly and shyly stammered. I'm sorry. She replied casually, It's okay. You did it to save me. He was surprised, thinking, What? She's the one on the bottom. She turned her face away and explained, This is the first time anyone has approached me so directly, but thank you. I understand what you mean, so you don't need to apologize. He replied shyly, But in his mind, he was thinking, I only rushed towards her to take advantage of her armor. Io stood up and asked for his name. Surprised, he asked back, Huh? He looked at her and thought with suspicion, I have a feeling I'll be running into her a lot if I answer. So, should I say something like, And what will you do if I tell you? But in the end, he just told her his name, Campbell. Hearing his name, she instinctively repeated it, Campbell. Her gaze turned sharp and cold again as she said, "All right, I won't forget this. I will repay you later." Just as she finished speaking, the system notified him, "You have caught the attention of a villain. The conditions for a special gift have been activated. You have acquired the skills, Desperate Survival and Deadly Charm." A surprised person exclaimed, "What?" Looking at the burning carriage crushed by a large boulder, the person asked in a loud voice, "Is it because this train departed from Elfant? Dot was having his wounds bandaged and treated by someone." The man said that thanks to special security measures, the casualties were not high. He groaned softly in pain. "That hurts." The man asked helplessly, "Where did I even touch you?" The wheels began to roll. Someone instructed, "Anyone who has been checked can leave." Another person quickly replied, "Yes, sir." The carriages quickly approached the city gates. The system announced a special gift. Gift number 1, Fated Attraction. You will receive more rewards when you attract the attention of those with an evil disposition. After reading the notification, he said thoughtfully to himself, "No wonder I couldn't figure out the activation conditions before. No matter what I did. In the Campbell territory, forget about an evil disposition. Even people with a neutral alignment were as rare as gold. Of course, that gift could never be activated. Should I check it more closely?" he wondered. Sitting inside the ambulance carriage, the system continued to display the information for him to check. Skill: Desperate Survival. Level: ? When in danger, your stats will increase according to the severity of the peril. Skill: Deadly Charm. Level: ? When facing those with an evil disposition, you will attract their attention more easily. The effect is stronger in more extreme situations. He looked at the system screen seriously and analyzed. Desperate Survival will definitely be useful in combat and help me survive. But Deadly Charm. Can I really have something like this? The system then displayed another reminder. It helps me attract the attention of those with an evil disposition. After reading it, he furrowed his brow in concern. An evil disposition? The characters with this trait in the game include a warrior crazed for battle, a mentally unstable sword god who slashes anyone within a 3-step radius, a violent assassin who kills anyone as long as they get paid, and a magical genius with extremely warped emotions. They're all troublesome people, but for now, maybe it's fine. The most important thing right now is having a skill that helps me survive. But the strange thing is that this skill level is marked with a question mark. Even though I'm a veteran player of the game, I've never seen this status before. What does it mean? Seeing him frozen like that, the healer spoke up. "Are you all right? Do you need me to perform another mental check?" He answered decisively, "Yes, I'm perfectly fine." The carriage continued on its way. Upon arrival, Campbell sat on a chair inside. A person standing on a high platform announced in a loud, clear voice, "Although an unfortunate incident occurred, I thank you all for arriving here safely. This year's new students are truly wonderful." Meanwhile, was lost in thought, recalling his conversation with the healer. The man had asked him, "Hey, new student, I heard you were in the same carriage as the young lady of the Cheshire House." He had replied coldly, "So what?" The man then mocked him, "You're just the son of a nameless viscount, with no connections whatsoever." Then, the man closed his eyes and calmly recounted, "I was also a student at Elfant, from an unknown noble family." Hearing that, was extremely surprised. The man continued, "Do you think it was a coincidence that you ended up in the same carriage as her? Out of all the other options, Duke Cheshire had countless enemies. It's best you stay away from her from now on. Getting involved with those high-ranking nobles will only bring disaster upon yourself." Had turned to look at EO and replied, "I'll keep that in mind." Just then, the system displayed another notification. EO, Low Affinity. The event for the early stage of Trust is about to begin. No way. I've been dragged into this whether I like it or not. In an academy full of schemes like this, it's no surprise she's a candidate for the final boss position. Just standing next to her could drag me into danger at any moment. As he was lost in thought, someone suddenly yelled his name. Campbell, you bastard." A large, fierce-looking guy, who had rolled up a piece of paper into a tube, pointed it at him and said aggressively, "Why are you just standing there spaced out?" The guy next to him immediately added with a sneer, "Look at that country bumpkin." The one holding the paper roll reminded him, "Everyone has already paired up for the practice match. You're the only one left standing alone. After the entrance ceremony, the practical combat test will begin. Right away," he said. "And your opponent has been automatically selected." Hearing this, he playfully scratched his head and asked, "Excuse me, so who is my opponent?" At the same time, a sense of anxiety was slowly growing within him. He thought to himself, if everyone else has already been chosen, then the last one left. Wouldn't that be the strongest one? From above, Elia looked down and started a conversation with him. "Hello." He looked up and cried out in his mind, Elia, the world's greatest genius. She smiled cheerfully and asked him, "Do you need help?" He was trembling all over just looking at her, and stammered in reply, I'm fine. Wait a minute, he thought to himself. In the future, she'll become the savior and the main character of Savior Jizin. This girl is also the main character of saving Elia. Standing on the stone platform and extending a hand to him, Dot's face darkened. His eyes welled up with tears as he thought, am I done for? From inside the room, voices could be heard, as if taking attendance. Count Cardian has just arrived, and Marcus Galahad is only just getting here now. A girl was resting her chin on her hand, lost in thought. What's wrong with her? The entrance duels are happening, so why is she so late? Seemingly impatient as well, a young man spoke up. What about Lady Zizertan? When will she arrive? Before he could even finish his sentence, Ao walked in, her clothes still stained with blood. She walked up to the table in the middle of the room and slammed her blood-covered sword onto it. Amidst such a scene, the girl sitting in the center of the hall, as if completely used to it, raised an eyebrow and questioned her. I have a lot of things I want to ask you, but where have you just been? Without wiping the blood from her face, Io replied softly, handling a few things. Elfini said, I'm sorry, but I have something else to deal with first. Hearing this, she showed no surprise at all and replied decisively, fine. In the dark night, under a full moon hanging high in the sky, they talked. By the way, did anyone die? Not many, only about 12 people. Io crossed her arms and began to recount. They tried to assassinate me. They dropped a boulder on the Academy's ship. Then they tried to make it look like an accident. I found out who they were and, by chance, I was nearby, so I killed them. After listening, Elfani reminded her, shouldn't you have left matters like that for the Academy to handle? Hearing this, Io turned her head slightly and replied coldly, too troublesome. She glanced at her, her voice as cold as ice, and asked, or, do you expect me to be some perfect person who just forgives those who try to kill me? Hearing this, the other girl could only helplessly change the subject. To avoid the conversation, she said, all right, but at least go get changed. The entrance duels are happening right now. If you go now, you'll see Elia, a rare genius. Io asked, Cam, what the hell is that? Elfani repeated his name, Cambello. The girl with glasses looked at the file and replied, yeah, that's him. Do you know him? Looking at him, there's nothing remarkable. Io started to recall the image of Dot sitting in the carriage and smiled unconsciously. She said softly, that guy is rather strange. Over here, the crowd below was shouting taunts. Go get him, you country bumpkin. Meanwhile, he stood on the dueling platform, holding a sword, his body trembling. Someone was even excitedly placing bets. Let's bet on how many moves he can last. Another person replied, what's there to bet? If I took a hit from her, it'd be game over. Dot looked at Elia opposite him and thought to himself, my stats are pathetic. If I get hit, I'm dead. But, looking at it another way, this could be my chance. This situation is extremely dangerous, so I have nothing to lose. The system announced, skill, desperate survival. Rank, question mark. When in danger, your stats will increase according to the level of peril. Dot looked down at the cheering crowd below. He speculated to himself, the villains I have to face are definitely among the people here. If I don't die, I can at least attract their attention. With this information advantage and stat buff, I can survive. Seeing him just standing there without reacting, Elia called out, hey. Startled, he reflexively exclaimed, huh. She gestured for him to be quiet, be honest. Hearing this, Dot's face gradually darkened with confusion. Elia looked at him and asked, you're actually really weak, aren't you? He was so surprised he couldn't speak. Dot stammered awkwardly, that's... She moved closer and stated with certainty, I was right, wasn't I? At first, I was going to beat you to a pulp, but in this state. She trailed off, making him shudder even more. He asked, terrified and stuttering, beat me to a pulp? Why? She asked softly. You came with Lady Zizertan, didn't you? I hate her. Not just her, but the entire Zizertan family. They're all demons in human skin. Hearing this, Dot narrowed his eyes and marveled inwardly. She's got guts, saying that here. She's not wrong, though. According to the plot, she holds a very deep grudge against the Zizertan house. It's a family feud, I get it. Dot spoke up to explain, I just happen to be in the same carriage as her. Hearing that, she boldly pointed the tip of her sword at him. But you still remind me of her. You annoy me. So I was going to beat you up to let off some steam. But never mind, how about we just pretend to fight? Hearing this, he pondered. Honestly, that sounds tempting. But if I don't get stronger quickly in the next 2 days, I'm not going to make it out alive. The only way to survive is to get stronger, to get her attention right now. With that in mind, Dot came up with a plan. Just go all out. He began to provoke her. Actually, I'm quite fond of her. Elia's eyes widened in shock, and she glared at him with a terrifying expression. She tightened her grip on her sword and asked, "Are you serious?" He thought to himself, "Of course I'm lying. But if I want her to fight at full power, this is the only way." Dot's gaze was more determined than ever as he replied, "I'm as serious as the hatred you have for her." The system announced, "Fatal Charm skill activated. The villain's attraction level towards you has increased dramatically. A new reward has been added to the gift catalog." Elia said contemptuously, "Then I have no reason to feel guilty." As soon as the words left her mouth, she lunged at him. She swung a powerful blow that snapped the tip of his sword in half. The attack was so swift and decisive it left Dot both shocked and terrified. He leaned back to dodge, his face twisting in the process. Elia asked in surprise, "You dodged that? So you're not completely useless, huh? In that case, let me speed things up a bit." Hearing that, his face paled in fear. Dot gritted his teeth, breaking out in a cold sweat as he stared at his opponent. A bright red system notification appeared. "Warning, dangerous situation detected. Danger level, not life-threatening. Desperate survival skill activated." With it being S rank, Dot couldn't seem to control his own hand as it flew straight into her face. He instinctively blurted out, "Huh?" He thought to himself, S rank. That hand, filled with immense power, struck Elia without a shred of mercy. Dot stared, wide-eyed in astonishment, as blue sparks enveloped his body. He thought in disbelief, "Isn't this the highest rank?" Dot's powerful punch left everyone watching the match with their jaws on the floor. As for Elia, she was sent flying. She crashed into the spectator stands. Dot, still in shock, held his pose. Just like the audience, his mouth was wide open. The people around couldn't believe what they were witnessing. They all gritted their teeth, terrified of Dot, the guy with all F-rank stats. On his very first day at El Fantini Academy, he had managed to defeat the main character of this world. Inside a building, a voice rang out, analyzing the situation. There are two possibilities. One, that kid is an incredibly skilled con artist. You change your mind pretty fast, don't you, Zart? In any case, this whole thing is absurd. Zart said from his chair. Anyone with a keen eye could tell that before the match, he had absolutely no combat skills or power, but that punch was definitely real. Ian, sitting opposite him in the center of the room, asked, "What are you getting at?" He replied bluntly and gloomily, "What I mean is that nobody at El Fantini could get back up after a punch like that, not even me." The most likely scenario is that he defeated Elia Canax using some kind of forbidden drug or artifact. Somehow, he temporarily boosted his power. The second possibility is that he's actually a monstrous genius. Then, Antae adjusted his glasses and said seriously, "But it's very difficult to accept this victory. The Border Lord Kenzit, Elia's sponsor, certainly won't stay silent. However, if we overlook a student with this much potential, it will be a major loss for the Academy. If he's really a fraud, the truth will come out sooner or later. So, let's just wait and see what happens." He looked confused and asked, "What do you mean?" And Auntie replied, "There are a lot of interesting students this year. Some are so special they require unique treatment. If he's truly as special as you say, he will definitely have an important role to play." Very quickly, news about Dot spread. Breaking news, the whole world has its eyes on Dot. Who is he, really? The descendant of a great knight, or the most powerful genius to ever step foot in the Academy. Beneath a goofy photo was a crystal-clear headline, "Lord Kenzit's new star." A shocking defeat right after enrollment. He held the newspaper, sighing in frustration. This damn article. Are they for real? The system displayed a notification. Profile information related to the special gift has been updated. The system displayed Elia's information. Character info, Elia Latchet. Trust level up from 1 to 2. Reward ready to be claimed. Character event done. Baron Amit. Curiosity level 2. Receive 100 points. He frustratedly tossed the newspaper aside and relaxed in his chair to check the system notifications. The system continued to display, Viscount Lubin, Curiosity level 1, received 50 points. Viscount Guzan, Interest level 3, received 100 points. Dot looked up at the system screen. He thought to himself, if the progression goes from curiosity to interest, then to trust, these points can probably be used in the point shop. He searched intently and then said, the one with the highest curiosity level is Elia, but why does the final boss, who shouldn't have any interest in me at all, have such a high level? The system displayed, claim reward from Elia's gift. You have received the trait, Supreme Swordsmanship. Dot stared blankly as he tapped the screen, thinking, the ultimate swordsmanship of the Supreme Clan, one of the best swordsmanship styles in the world. What a steal. He hesitated, thinking, the problem is, this clan is associated with demons. Whatever, I'll focus on surviving first. The system displayed character information for Elia, Curiosity level 4, reward cannot be claimed at this time. Seeing this, Dot said in surprise. Why is she on this list? He pondered curiously. Gifts are only for villains who have a positive interest in me. But she's not a villain, nor does she have any interest at all. While he was lost in thought, a knock from outside made Dot jump and turn around. The person outside called in, "Is this Dot's room?" He thought for a moment. That voice sounded so familiar. The person outside was Elia. She said, "It's Elia. May I come in?" Hearing this, Dot was a bit stunned. Huh? What's this? Why is she here? If I stay quiet, maybe she'll just leave. She looked pitifully bruised, standing outside the door and asking softly, "Hey, are you in there? If you don't answer, I'm breaking down the door." Hearing this, Dot panicked and shouted, "Wait, are you crazy?" Hearing his voice, Elia confirmed, "So you are in there. Can you open the door? I have something to talk to you about." He asked through gritted teeth. "What is it?" Elia leaned against the door and said shyly, "Just things so we can get to know each other a little better." Hearing this, Dot was bewildered and wondered to himself, what the hell is going on? Looking down the long hallway with its warm yellow lights, Elia frowned and glanced around, then turned away in anger, muttering as she left. He should have just gone along with it. Why is he so stubborn? Elia remembered being dragged away, how she struggled and yelled at Dot, "Can't we be friends?" Back in the present, Elia was both resentful and curious. There's something strange about him. She sighed, deep in thought. I don't know how to befriend a man. So, lost in her thoughts, Elia wasn't watching where she was going and bumped into someone. The person was walking towards her, and a small bag in their hand fell to the floor. As she knelt to pick it up, the other person spoke. "Shouldn't you watch where you're going?" Being scolded, she stammered. Eleanor looked down and asked, "Are you all right?" When Eleanor saw who was in front of her, she froze, completely speechless. Neither of them said a word, just staring intently at each other. She suddenly remembered the desperate warning, "Run, Elia." That reminded Elia of a fiery, stormy night when someone stood before her, settling a score on her behalf. Her voice trembled as she replied, "I'm fine." Elia's eyes were filled with hatred as she thought to herself how she had reflexively gripped her sword. At my current level, can I even defeat her? Just as she thought of her, Elo gently held out a hand. She was stunned, her eyes fixed on Elo, completely confused. But she must have seen my hand. Why isn't she reacting at all? Elo spoke up, "Give that back." Elia stood up with the bag and began to speculate. Is she implying that I'm not even worth a reaction? Her hands trembling, she handed the small bag to Elo and said, "Here, take it." Elia couldn't help but wonder. Dot, does he know her, too? As they walked past each other, she offered a tip, "Go to the right, and his room is just past this turn. That's Dot's room." Hearing this, Elo suddenly stopped. Then, she called Elia back with a confused look. "Wait, how do you know where his room is?" Elo's face darkened, her eyebrows furrowing as she heard the reply. "I've been with him this whole time." She then asked, "For what?" Elia silently wondered, why is she so hostile? Despite her thoughts, she smiled warmly in the spirit of friendship between freshmen. Elo reminded her sternly, "Freshmen are not permitted to interact with members of the opposite gender." Hearing this, she was utterly surprised by this newly added rule. A murderous aura filled her as she slowly repeated, "Not permitted." Elia asked quizzically, "Is there a rule that says that?" Before she could finish her sentence, Elo cut her off sternly, saying, "I just made one. From now on, you are forbidden from going to his room." She scratched her head in confusion and asked, "Excuse me, but what is your relationship with him, President?" As Elo turned to leave, she called back over her shoulder, "Nothing at all. However, remember what I just told you." Watching her leave, Elia thought about how Dot had said that his seriousness in battle was just like her hatred for Elo. She thought angrily, there's something between those two. Even if it's just a little something, I should keep trying to get closer to him. The Elfanti Academy's class placement exam is designed to meticulously analyze every aspect of the students. After a one-on-one duel, students are divided into groups, and because I defeated a warrior candidate, I was placed in the highest level group. Everyone else looks proud, while I'm the only one who looks worried. The biggest problem is this girl. Yesterday, I pushed her away, but now she's in the same group as me. The system continued to display a notification. Character information. Elia. Affection level is approaching interest. Curiosity level is 5. Reward cannot be claimed yet. But it's almost time for the affection status to change. An important character will have a special event when their affection status changes. He thought helplessly. Her affection level went up again? What is happening? Thinking back, a package of snacks and a letter had arrived last night with a message wishing him good luck on tomorrow's exam. He began to analyze the situation. My head. So, is someone watching me? Why is all of this happening to me? A voice called out, "Group 1. It's your turn." He let out a sigh and thought, I'll put that aside for now. I have to focus on the exam first. There probably won't be too many incidents since this is part of the main storyline. The system displayed character information for Elia. Trust level is 2. Character event will occur soon. Elo stood solemnly and spoke clearly. A pleasure to meet you. I am Elo, the one in charge of this exam. He was completely shocked when he saw her. What? This definitely can't be a coincidence. Elo's event was originally scheduled for today, but she's personally in charge of my group. It would be more unusual if nothing happened during this exam. 5 people sitting around a circular table were also watching intently. Through the orb placed in the center, they all shared the same thought. If he's really a genius capable of defeating the warrior candidate, then I also want to see how he performs in this exam. Let the group leaders conduct the test, just in case something happens. Elo waved her hand and said, "First, let's move to the exam area. I will answer any questions when we get there." Lucas suddenly exclaimed, "They must have invested a lot in this place." Someone walking ahead called out to him, "Be quiet and follow me, Luca." All of them walked into a dark place together. Someone exclaimed, "This place looks amazing." Another person said, "The lights just went out." She was lost in thought and said nothing. Seeing this, Elia, who was beside her, urged her on. "Hey, you said you'd answer our questions when we arrived, so is this part of the test?" Dot was looking at a lever, thinking to himself, "I think I can answer that." The entrance has been sealed, and the power has been cut. The system suddenly announced, "Elo event now in effect." He sighed after reading it. This is a trap, not a test, he thought. The system once again displayed character information for Elia. Next event after the assassination attempt, the surviving assassins are still targeting her. Protect this person. One of the new students spoke up to reassure them. They'll handle it, don't worry. Another person with cornrows said, but we should get moving. No one knows what could happen here. Dot watched from a distance. He thought, wait a minute, I just noticed. All of these people. They're all members of the main character's party. If I remember the scenario correctly, this is where they first meet. In other words, everyone in this room is pretty important to the story. Just as he finished that thought, he pointed to a wall and said decisively, I think the central hall is the most logical place to move to. One of them exclaimed in surprise, "Ha! What the hell? There's a map there." Dot continued speaking. There are definitely no relief supplies there. Most importantly, it's a wide open area, which will be easier to defend against ambushes, compared to these narrow hallways. Chisa, feigning fear, asked, "Ambushes?" He continued to persuade them. "You two must have sensed it as well. Right, President and Elia? We're not the only ones here." Hearing this, they didn't know how to respond. "Come on, I'm going this way," Elia asked, bewildered. "Huh? Why?" He answered curtly. "Because it's necessary." She angrily pointed a finger at him and said, "But why?" "That's the complete opposite direction of the central hall." Dot's face darkened as he replied, frustrated, "I can't say right now. But this is very important. I'll explain later." He looked at Elo and thought, yeah, it really is important. I'm not lying to them. Nothing is more important than protecting my own life, right? Footsteps echoed in the darkness. Dot spoke up, "All right." Then he continued walking. He recalled the powerful punch he'd landed on Elia and marveled inwardly. It seems defeating Elia has given my words some credibility. Now I just need to hide until this event is over. Anyway, the assassination target is Elo, so they won't pay any attention to me. I just need to find a quiet corner and wait. As he was plotting, a voice suddenly called out, "Hey, you." He tilted his head slightly to see a very suspicious, tall man looking at him and asking for a favor. "I'm here to fix the electrical system. Could you show me the way? My eyes aren't good in the dark." Just as Dot was feeling frustrated, the system displayed a red notification. Warning, dangerous situation detected. The group was walking in the dark. Chisa stepped in a puddle, making a splashing sound. She called out, "Hey Elia, do you think Dot will be okay on his own? What if something happens to him?" Elia suddenly realized something and replied, "He must have a plan. Whatever he's doing, something's not right." They stood there talking, completely unaware that many mysterious, masked figures were hiding above them, waiting to ambush them. But Elo had already detected all of them. She glanced upwards slightly. Meanwhile, Dot was walking with a repairman. The man thought deviously. The vanguard was wiped out by that cunning bitch. But that only happened because we weren't there. Even this guy was easily fooled. He calmly continued walking in front of the man. The two of them walked on. He spoke up. "Ahead of us is the equipment room." The other man was still deep in thought. "As a professional assassin, I only need to observe someone's movements to gauge their skill level. And this guy is just an amateur. I can play with him a little before I finish him off. Then I'll take his body and eliminate Lady Chi So-tun." Du glanced back when he didn't get a response. The other man began to remove his mask, a short sword in his hand. "Excellent. It's time for your reward." Du sighed in exasperation and replied, "Thank goodness, just as I predicted. If my opponent had any real skill, I might have been in danger. Luckily, from your stance and the way you hold your sword, you're still the same guy I remember." The man frowned, thinking angrily. What the hell is he talking about? Du began to grip his sword tightly and said, let's see. A rank, desperate survival. He paused slightly, making the man think irritably, I really don't know what to say anymore. In any case, he's just a weakling. I'll finish him off right now. Du now also got into a fighting stance, gripping the sword with both hands. Elsewhere, a man in black was slammed hard against a wall, another was struck by an arrow, and blood splattered everywhere. They all coordinated perfectly, taking down the entire ambush squad. One of them spoke up in confusion. What the hell? They're even weaker than I thought. Elia turned and yelled, Vankas, freeze them. She wondered to herself, what about Elo? The moment she thought of Elo, she stomped her foot hard on the ground. A single light swing of her sword sent 4 ambushers flying into a wall. One of them cried out in pain, spitting out a mouthful of fresh blood. The man next to him immediately coughed up blood as well. Elo walked up to one of the ambushers and interrogated him. Besides you guys, who else was deployed? If you don't answer, I'll break your neck. The man's hands were frozen, and combined with his fear, he trembled and replied, the Crescent Moon Guild. A man named Hear Me. She continued her questioning, is he in this building? The man answered, I can't tell you. Hearing that, she grew angry and decisively stomped on his face. She lifted him up by his collar and coldly asked again, is that assassin here right now? She stared intently at him. He trembled and replied, yes, he came with us. Elo also spoke up from behind, asking, what made you risk your life like this? The other man replied, they tried to kill me. And Hear Me of the Crescent Moon Guild is an assassin who can impersonate others after killing them. Then who is truly the most dangerous person in this building? Elia frowned, thinking it over. There's only one person, she stammered softly. Could it be that dude turned himself into bait to lure out the strongest enemy? There are assassins targeting you, so why would he go so far? What really is the relationship between you two? Elo replied coldly. I've already told you, there's nothing between us, at least as far as I know. Over on the other side, Hear Me cursed under his breath. Damn it, a professional assassin like me was actually defeated. The Guardian Spirit is supposed to be a non-physical barrier that only reacts to weapons. So why are there traces of Chi So-tun's swordsmanship here? This school is an ancient and mysterious place, so I guess it makes sense. But an assassin is a weapon in and of himself. So how could he beat me to a pulp using just a club? Without giving him a chance to counter, Du dealt him a fatal blow. A system notification appeared. You have successfully executed Chi So-tun's swordsmanship. Your Chi So-tun's swordsmanship characteristic has been enhanced. Du looked at the club in his hand and breathed a sigh of relief. The assassin thought angrily. Chi So-tun's swordsmanship. It seems I shouldn't have messed with him in the first place. Then he leaned back against the wall and said with difficulty, so it turns out you were the one luring me into a trap. Who are you? Du acted confused. Huh. The system continued to display, deadly charm, skill activated. The villain is stunned by your meticulous plan. Thanks to the game system, you can't use weapons at a save point, which is why I led him here. Seeing Du didn't respond, the man sneered, I guess you have no intention of answering. Fine, then spare me. Du replied casually, I don't intend to kill you. The man asked in surprise, why? Du didn't answer him but simply warned, spread the word. Don't be foolish enough to get near Lady Chi So-tun, and tell them that even a high-class assassin like you almost lost his life. Thinking of Elo's dark expression, he secretly reasoned, I don't know who gave the order, but it's likely they won't stop. If that happens, the chances of Elo's Grey Demon awakening will increase, so I want to extinguish this threat from the very beginning. The man looked at him, smirked, and asked, and what if I come back? Du didn't hesitate to challenge him directly. Then go ahead and try again, because I'll protect her next time, too. The man asked him doubtfully, is Lady Chi So-tun really that important to you? Du answered bluntly, you could say that. After hearing this, the man was suddenly at a loss for words. A system notification appeared, deadly charm skill activated. The villain's favorability has increased. Area increased dramatically. Elo heard the two of them talking and stared at him blankly. Dot turned around to see Elo now walking toward him, step by step. In a student council room at El Fanti Academy, a tormented, high-pitched voice rang out. Good heavens, this is a complete mess. I understand why the headmaster is angry, but ordering me to hunt down the organizer immediately. I already have a mountain of work to deal with. This academy is a real disaster. Based on the route and timing of the assassination, it's almost certain there's a spy on the inside. Elo, I know these political schemes targeting you are a daily occurrence, but this is the second assassination attempt. It seems they're very determined. But in response to that concern, Elo seemed rather indifferent and spoke vaguely. I wonder. Quickly speculating, the girl continued. Well, this case seems a bit different. Whoever is behind this, I'm sure they'll strike again. And the people who were with you last time, they were all commended. And yet, not a single one of them was killed. As for Dot, he's the only one with no record of being commended. There's no reason he shouldn't have been recognized, and I don't know why that is. It's as if he's deliberately avoiding the academic team's attention. Hearing her friend's series of analyses and concerns, Elo simply said, "I wonder." Her friend, having been cut off, snapped angrily. "I'll punch you if you say, 'I wonder' one more time." Unafraid, Elo casually provoked her. "Go ahead and try." Exasperated, she grabbed a nearby vase and threw it at her friend, shouting, "What on earth is wrong with you?" Elo easily caught the vase and asked emotionlessly, "Is there a problem?" Her friend said impatiently, "You've been distracted all day. Can't you focus at all? I don't know what's going on. But if you don't tell me, I'm not helping you anymore." Elo then unexpectedly spoke up. "I think I'm starting to take an interest in someone." Shocked, as if not believing her ears, her friend asked again, "What?" Elo gently repeated herself. "I said, I'm interested." A question immediately popped out, without a second thought. Elo said shyly, "You just mentioned him, didn't you?" Her friend asked with a look of surprise. Campbello. Silence filled the room for a few seconds. As the girl finally seemed to process the information, she asked again in astonishment, "Wait, hold on. You like that country bumpkin?" Elo immediately retorted, "I never said that." She looked at her friend and asked worriedly, "My lady, I don't know what he did to catch your eye, but what if Duke Zisserton hears about this?" Elo simply replied, "That old geezer would definitely fly into a rage." She walked over, placed the vase she had just caught back down, and said nonchalantly, "Besides, I don't even like him." Seeing her nonchalant attitude, her friend could only think to herself, "I guess so." Rubbing her head tiredly, she said to her friend, "Good grief, don't deny it. Anyway, regardless of how he did it, he treated you pretty well, didn't he? Normally, you'd be immediately suspicious. As the young lady of House Zisserton, shouldn't you be more careful?" Elo replied calmly, "That's true, but I just need to test him." She looked at the photo on Dot's student profile and said, "If I observe him carefully, it should be fine." Her friend didn't quite understand this and asked, "What do you mean?" In his dorm room, Dot, the one they were just talking about, was sprawled on his bed, looking strangely at a notice from the academy. He also said a similar phrase. "What does this mean?" The letter read, "Unfortunately, we are currently unable to inform you about your class placement. The academic team is still conducting a project to ensure optimal results. You can expect good news in the future." After reading it, he felt nothing towards the notice and just thought he didn't want to expect anything. He might as well just be thrown into some class and forgotten. But according to the rules, shouldn't I have been placed in a special class like Elia's group? Why are they delaying me like this? Dot saw another notification arrive. First main quest completed. New information has been updated. The main quest was to resolve the incident that will occur during the freshman welcoming ceremony. The reward is materials for crafting exclusive equipment. He began to analyze the new mission. The freshman welcoming ceremony is where the main character's class is decided. Archer, warrior, mage, priest. My specialization will be decided based on what I focus on developing. Just like Elia uses a sword, I'll also follow the path of focusing on strength. That way, I'll receive suitable materials for crafting exclusive equipment. There was just one problem. Dot clicked on the notification about the updated new character. Character information, Aloha Zizertin. Trust level increased from level 2 to level 5. A temporary increase due to a special effect. A special reward is now obtainable. This is a key character with an upcoming special event. Time remaining for the related event, 3 days. Next was the information for the character Elia Kaish. Interest level, 5. Favorability change threshold needs to be met. This is a key character with an upcoming special event. Time remaining for the related event, 3 days. Dot slumped down, burying his face in his hands tiredly. Model. The final boss, the main character, and the main quest event are all happening at the same time. Something big is definitely about to go down. Suddenly, a notification popped up. The skill he received was skill copy, allowing him to copy one skill from a target. He stared in shock at the flashing text, panicking. Holy crap, what the hell is this? Skill copy? This is insane. He hadn't expected this at all. The joy was completely unexpected. Does this mean I can copy the final boss's skill? But then he hesitated, thinking, no, it'd be a waste to use it now. Even though Io is currently at the top of the Academy's food chain, she's a growth-type final boss, just like the protagonist, Elia. She'll have tons of overpowered skills later on, so there's no reason to use skill copy on her right now. First, I need to prepare for the event that's happening in 3 days. Luckily, I know about something that can help me survive. Under the cover of darkness, he hurried to a warehouse deep within the Academy's abandoned sector, the old armory. Looking at the old building before him, Dot let out a sigh of relief. It really was great being able to use the point shop. Before arriving, he had equipped himself with several items for this mission. a speed potion for a low-level speed boost, and a mask of shadows for a low-level agility boost. He also had soft shoes, which provided low-level sound dampening for his footsteps. After bypassing layer after layer of security, I finally made it to one of the hidden treasure spots for grinders. As agile as a night cat, Dot scaled the wall with ease and grace, landing with a precise jump. Among the items he'd exchanged for in the system, this time was a rather special one, a recovery cake that restored an unprecedented amount of stamina. It sounds like an advertisement, but it really works. Now, let's have a look around. He began rummaging through the piles of old junk filling the warehouse. Munching on the cake, he thought, I've already found all the other important items. Now there's just one last thing. Found it. The Supreme Divine Relic. An ancient censer containing 1,000 years of power. He took out the censer and whispered to himself, Perfect. I have everything I need now. Suddenly, Dot looked up with a stunned expression. It turned out that when he grabbed the censer, he'd carelessly destabilized a stack of wooden crates. He looked up at them in horror as the crates began to topple over. Dot thought in a panic, damn it, I knew things couldn't keep going this smoothly. Suddenly, from behind the falling junk, a peacefully sleeping girl was revealed. Much to his surprise, he caught her in his arms and was stunned to recognize who it was. Duia. At that moment, she woke up and said in surprise, Huh? Duia? The boss of Chapter 2, nicknamed the Cursed Sword Goddess. That item I just picked up belongs to her, which means she usually hides out here. Suddenly, an emergency notification appeared from the system. Dangerous situation detected. Life-threatening danger. Activating S-rank skill. Desperate survival. Duia tightened the chain around her arm. The tense atmosphere terrified him, and he quickly said, I'm sorry for waking you. But before he could finish his sentence, a horrified Dot was attacked by Duia swinging her chain. The attack was incredibly powerful, and all he could do was grit his teeth and endure it. This was nothing like his duel with Elia. The cold, sharp tip of her blade whizzing past made him understand the gravity of the situation. This was now a fight for survival. During the fight, Dot tried to explain more than once. This is a misunderstanding. I wasn't going to do anything to you while you were sleeping. He thought in anguish. Even with an S-rank power, my whole body is aching. Duia didn't reply, but her disdainful eyes shone with cold suspicion. Without giving Dot a moment's rest, Duia tightened her grip, and the chain roared through the air like an angry steel serpent. All the while, he just dodged her attacks, repeatedly pleading, Please. She lunged at him, her killing intent flaring with every movement. Once again, he managed to quickly evade the attack, taking minimal damage. Duia's eyes widened in surprise, but she remained silent. She then resumed her stormy barrage of attacks. Dot retreated in terror, his heart pounding in his chest. He thought to himself with relief, Fortunately, I know what I have to do to stop her attacks. The tip of her weapon shot towards him like a lightning bolt, but Dot gritted his teeth, closed his eyes, and stood perfectly still. He held his position without flinching, and strangely enough, the blade miraculously stopped, less than an inch from his face. Immediately after, Duia retracted her chain. Relying on his past gaming experience, he sighed in relief. A range of 3.5 steps. Any enemy who enters that range is instantly defeated, but in exchange, she can't move forward even a single step. That's the mechanism of Duia's curse, an absolute restriction. Seeing him standing just outside her range, she asked, Can you take one step forward? Dot replied without the slightest hesitation. So you can strike me down? Her eyes never leaving him, she answered bluntly, Yes. But in that moment, Dot knew he couldn't escape either. In the silent standoff, her stomach suddenly rumbled. It was in that moment that Dot suddenly realized, Wait a minute. This is her private territory because she has to be isolated from everyone. Even the teachers rarely come here. He thought for a moment, then spoke gently. Hey, do you want something to eat? Want a biscuit? With that, Dot held out his hand, revealing a few energy recovery biscuits he had bought from the system earlier. They'll help you recover your stamina quickly. I figured people always get hungry in situations like this. Seeing his actions, Duia snapped angrily. I won't be tempted by such petty tricks. Are you really trying to bribe me with food? Dot didn't say another word. He simply tossed a biscuit over. And yet, on pure instinct, Duia flew out and caught the biscuit like a little puppy. The tension in the air eased thanks to the snack. She spoke up. All right. I believe this was just a mistake. Dot also added a mental note. She really can't communicate when she's hungry. Dot could finally breathe a sigh of relief, silently mouthing, That was close. Duia stood obediently behind him and suddenly asked, Who are you, and what are you doing here? The question made him freeze. In his head, he thought, to steal things, but of course, he couldn't say that. He put on a righteous voice and replied, I came to bring you food. An acquaintance asked me to look after you. Duia glanced at Dot curiously while chewing on the biscuit. An acquaintance? Leaving a good impression now could be useful later. In the game, there's no way I'd meet Duia this early, so he added aloud. Oh, that's right. Don't worry, your sister is fine in the Holy Empire. The current emperor isn't interested in you too, but it goes without saying, you should still lay low for now. I'll be back. Duya was originally from the Holy Empire. She had to hide in Iani because of the Holy Empire's emperor. Duya's sword was infamous for being a cursed artifact, and as the vessel bound to the sword, she suffered from the three-step curse. So mentioning her only relative probably wouldn't hurt. She must have been through so much and had little hope left. The scene changes to the next morning. Amidst the bright sunshine, a pleasant voice rang out over the open landscape. This is the Academy building, that's the arena, and over there is the training ground. You can all see everything from here, right? Yes. The person giving the tour was none other than Headmaster Ophelier. She was guiding her students. You will have to choose a major and a minor from production, academics, martial arts, and faith. You all know about these 5 departments, right? A curious student from below spoke up. Does the tribal union have the same teaching system as the Holy Empire? Headmaster Ophelier smiled, not bothered by the question, but rather amused by it. That's right. Our teaching is similar to the War Academy and the Grand Holy Temple, so don't even think about transferring anywhere. Let me explain further about the majors. Amidst the listening students, Dot stood quietly, his mind lost in his own thoughts. This is the orientation event where I can get more information about this world. I can't afford to skip it. All my effort up until now would go down the drain. He thought impatiently, why do they keep asking so many questions? He saw a young man nearby point into the distance and ask Headmaster Ophelier, are they in charge of that area? Far off, almost completely separate from the academy, was a vast area covered by a shimmering barrier. The ethereal light shimmered like a boundary between reality and illusion, between magic and the physical world. The headmaster replied, that's correct, but it's a restricted area. Anyone who enters will be punished immediately. A thought surfaced in Dot's mind. The Void Zone. It's a remnant of the historic war between heaven and hell. This is where divine messengers and chosen warriors sealed away the demons. Even though hundreds of years have passed, the aftershocks of divinity and death still clash endlessly. This area is critically important in case the demons break the seal. That's why the Holy Empire, the Tribal Union, and the Empire formed a golden triangle to monitor this region. Atlanti and the other academies are also part of that system. Snapping out of his thoughts and back to reality, the atmosphere of the student orientation became clear again. Luca, with his distinctive hair standing out in the crowd, raised his hand, his voice a mix of curiosity and excitement. Headmaster Ophelier, can we get a little closer to see it? Ophelier replied gently, standing at the edge of the Seraphim's protective shield is permitted. We will be safe inside it. In the crowd, Dot cracked a small grateful smile and thanked her silently. All right, the next step is to leave, get lunch, and then come back here. I have other things to do. Angels, beings who could move mountains and dry up oceans, and the Seraphim, beings of an even higher existence, created this barrier. The group of students was now standing right in front of it, just a few steps away from the Void Zone. Ophelier spread her arms and said cheerfully, let's have lunch here. The students smiled happily, resting and looking around. Although they were standing before a place of extreme danger, it was thanks to the Seraphim's barrier that the academy could exist so close to this hazardous area. Dot gripped the straps of his bag, looked at Headmaster Ophelier, and asked for permission. May I step away for a bit? I don't feel very comfortable standing here. Hearing this, she frowned slightly, thinking, this boy. Many of his classmates had been talking about what happened, but she still warned him, you can't go far. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble. There. Dot quickly replied, yes. From a distance, Lion watched the scene and mumbled angrily, is that country bumpkin getting arrogant just because he's getting some attention? In a secluded place, Dot took out an ancient censer. He added unicorn horn powder, a phoenix feather, and a fan made of coral into it. Everything was ready. The supreme divine relic, a portable censer imbued with divine power. At that very moment, a mystical vortex of light suddenly appeared in midair. He stared at it without blinking, wondering, I didn't miss anything, did I? I came all this way to use this item, this thing that allows me to approach beings that ordinary people could never dream of. Dot stood before a massive explosion but showed no signs of fear. A cloud of mist appeared, and a voice echoed from somewhere. Where did you say the Allied forces were? He said to level the ground, not dig a trench and leave it. He looked up, staring intently ahead. They said the giants did it. Following his gaze, he saw someone digging and saying, look at that. Hey rookie, do you think leveling means digging holes? It's just that the ground is too hard, someone replied. Is the shovel in your hand not harder? Hold on. As soon as he said that, Ezel and the person next to him both turned to look at him. He couldn't help but ask, what's with that human over there? He's been staring this way for a while now, but at least he's quiet, which is better than those who just wander around and bother us while we're working. The elf Ezel approached with a frightening expression and immediately questioned, why did you suddenly stop? Why isn't your shovel moving? He stammered. Well, that's... A magic circle appeared before his eyes. Meanwhile, the two people on the other side were still arguing. It's moving now. Hey, spread it out evenly, stop digging down. Then the other person screamed, their voice filled with fear. A frog jumped out. A moment later, a vehicle arrived with two loudspeakers. The person in the vehicle called out, "Hey everyone, the holy mud bricks are here. Hurry up and unload them." An angel wondered, "How many?" As soon as he finished speaking, bags of bricks were thrown to the ground along with a reply, "A lot." Then there was a scream. The girl driving the vehicle saw an angel eating a snack during work hours and asked, "Why are you over there eating cloud cookies?" He responded doubtfully, "You're the driver, right? And I'm a soldier, too. Please save your energy for driving." He stood before the magic circle, watching Ezel urge the other angels on. "Hey, can't you see your seniors are working? Hurry up." Hearing that, the angel scurried away, stammering, "Corporal Ezel, I'll get right on it." Suddenly, he approached the captain and asked, "Captain, have the supplies not arrived yet?" The captain replied, "Sorry, the transport vehicle is delayed. They're fixing it, so please be patient and wait a bit." There was another complaint from the side. E-rank corporal. It broke. Hearing this, Dot chuckled, thinking to himself, no wonder angels don't just descend to the mortal world willy-nilly. If you had to describe angels, they're just like an army. They have a clear ranking system with a strict chain of command. This world has its own set of rules. Encountering angels is something that only happens from Chapter 2 onwards, and making direct contact with high-ranking angels is only possible much later. I know what they want, something simple and basic. Just a moment later, the spot where he was sitting was filled with food neatly packed in paper boxes. Dot exclaimed, "Thanks for the meal." He immediately took the first bite, and the delicious taste made him close his eyes tightly in enjoyment. The aroma caught the angels' attention, and they whispered to each other, "He's still looking this way. What did he bring? Look how deliciously he's eating. Can we ask for a little? You haven't met the requirements yet. What are you still standing there for? Go move the bricks." Suddenly, he smiled and said, "Esteemed angels, please eat before you continue working, or you'll get exhausted." As he said that, the boxes of food were instantly teleported elsewhere. A system notification popped up, offering transmission complete. The pastries were delivered to the working angels. They looked at each other and smiled cheerfully. Ezel said loudly, "This guy is all right." "All right, break time, 10 minutes rest. We've got bread rolls. There's steak, too. What a considerate human." Dot thought to himself, the rules of this world are different from the real world. A single portion for me was enough for all of them. As a few rays of light appeared in the sky, a voice was heard on the ground. "I'm full." That was quite a luxury. "That censer next to you. You came to find us because you need a favor, right? Give it here, and I'll bless it. Speak, but make it reasonable, and I will try to grant your request." Hearing this, he thought in astonishment. "Huh, just like that? He agreed already? I prepared a dozen negotiation plans. Was there ever such an easy path in the original story?" As if reading his thoughts, Ezel's expression became pensive. "You're wondering why an insignificant being like you is being treated so well? I know." He thought. He can see through things. Just by observing, he can perceive the true nature of something. When it was his turn, the elf's eyes were fixed on him. "It seems you're quite knowledgeable. You possess an ability, but it is completely undeveloped. Invest in it now. You'll benefit greatly later on." Hearing this, Dot was even more astonished. "What? Is he talking about that gift? He means my trait, beloved by the darkness." Ear added, "That gift is much stronger than you think. However, how you use it is entirely up to you. But because of it, you've already caught the eye of a cruel yet friendly monster." He was worried but didn't show it. "Damn it, I knew it. After I get the sensor, I'll find out everything I can. I have to optimize my path to survival at all costs." In just a second, Ear transformed into another form, as if in praise. A normal human would have panicked instantly upon hearing those words, but he began to calmly analyze and strategize. "I see now. A great human is taking shape. It seems I have nothing to worry about anymore. All right, I have finished bestowing my blessing." He replied, "Thank you, sir." Different voices rang out. "Sergeant, why would you say such things to a human? Routing is almost complete." Meanwhile, Dot was still dazed by his own thoughts. Cruel yet friendly. What does that mean? And I'm a great human. Isn't he overestimating me? Before leaving, Ear managed to turn back and say one last thing. "Believe in yourself. I acknowledge you." With the conversation over, the circle vanished. He sat there, stunned, for a long time. Dot sighed, having just completed his goal. "I'm just trying to work hard because I don't want to die. But still, this is a warning from an angel, so I'll think about it carefully." As the sensor floated in the air, the system displayed Supreme Divinity C+, which contained a special power from the divine entities of another world. It has 2 asceticism skills. First, convert all additional stats into vitality by using a small amount of mana, Cooldown 20 seconds. Can be evolved through Proof of Faith. Second, Protection Shield C. Use a small amount of mana to create a one-time protective barrier and receive a Vitality effect. Cooldown 20 seconds. Can be evolved through a Sacred Wound. He closed his eyes, his mind restless with vague thoughts. That angel gave me some pretty useful blessings. The Vitality stat is related to health, so it directly affects my chances of survival. Since my desperate struggle for survival can help me raise my stats quickly, these skills will definitely be very useful. But the most important thing is evolution. In this world, things that can grow will naturally improve in performance over time. Getting something like this so early in the story is truly a godsend. The system notification appeared, consumes a small amount of mana, he thought. But the problem is, that's just a distant dream for someone like me. I don't have a single related trait. If I can't use mana now, I'll have to find a temporary alternative. That's also why I came here. The person in front of him reminded him, "You're not paying attention at all." Dot replied, "I'm still listening." "Yeah, did you hear what I said?" "I heard everything. You said we need to form a group of 2, right?" With a slightly foolish look on his face, the man said, "Do you even know what a group of 2 is? So where's your partner?" Hearing this, he smiled confidently and replied, "She'll be here soon." The man scoffed, "And who would want to team up with an unknown like you?" Dot said, "I'm not lying. This place will be crowded soon." "What are you talking about?" He looked at his watch and analyzed. "My partner is more than just famous." He thought to himself, she should be appearing any moment now. According to the story's progression, just as he finished his thought, Elia appeared right behind them. "Hello, excuse me. Is this the Monster Studies Department?" Dot turned to greet her, thinking to himself that he originally hadn't planned on getting involved with the main character. "But I changed my mind, especially after hearing that old angel's advice." Elia also recognized him and mumbled, "Mr. Dot." Dot turned back to discuss things with Elia. "Is your offer about getting to know each other better still valid?" She was flustered and didn't know how to respond for a moment, recalling what Elia had said in the past. "I really like that person." But as soon as she said it, she was dragged away by a warden, and the two were separated. The others whispered, "First-year students are forbidden from dating each other." "What's your relationship?" They interrogated them relentlessly. "It's nothing." "What is Dot doing?" "You said there was nothing between us." Dot offered a friendly handshake, and she was confused. She thought, "He's incredible. Mr. Dot doesn't have an effective method, so now he's switching to a tactic to make people jealous. But I've only ever heard rumors, right? Just how delusional is this guy?" Simulated Dungeon Academy. In the dark space, only 4 blood-red dots appeared. Someone asked, "Mr. Dot, are you sure about this?" Dot tried to convince the other person with a less than trustworthy face. "Trust me. Didn't you want to be friends with me? Remember the first time we met? You were going to hit me, weren't you?" Elia replied, her tone a bit forced. "Of course, even though I was the one who got hit." After that, he immediately switched to combat mode, his expression extremely serious, then shouted, pointing forward, "If you really want to be my friend after all that, then just do as I say. Now, 9 o'clock, 3 of them." Immediately, the huge monster let out a furious roar. Its sharp teeth looked like they could shred an enemy to pieces at any moment. It raised its fist, ready to attack. Suddenly, someone shouted, "Huh?" She unleashed a swift sword strike, beheading the monster. It all happened in an instant. Just then, Dot spoke again. 2 more from the ceiling. They were 2 bat-like monsters, but with long fangs and piercing, crimson eyes that looked utterly vicious. Drawing on his observation, knowledge, and experience, Dot quickly pointed out their weak spot was their necks. "Don't go for the wings, strike their bodies directly." Elia reacted instantly, landing 2 swift strikes on their bodies. Then she spoke, her voice laced with dissatisfaction. "Dot, stop just standing there giving orders. Give me a hand, will you?" But all she got was a curt response. He continued observing and giving directions. 2 blades coming from the left and right, but you just need to parry them. Just hold on for 10 seconds. The blades shot forward at a dizzying speed. But surprisingly, Elia skillfully dodged every single one with Dot's guidance. "Good. Next is paralysis poison. The nozzle is on the right. Destroy it now." Elia swung her sword decisively, slicing the poison nozzle in half. Dot continued. "Next, dodge 3 arrows coming from my direction. Just stay still. 3, 2, 1. Now." An attack from behind. Hearing that, a startled Elia spun around. Despite the surprise, she managed to block the attack, thanks to Dot's guidance and her own swift reflexes. Having to just follow Dot's commands throughout this whole situation was starting to make Elia furious. "If you know everything that's going to happen, you could probably handle this better than I can. We cleared this stage much faster if you actually helped. You've just been cheerleading and giving orders instead of fighting." Hearing Elia's words, Dot froze. "Asterisk, I want to help. I really do, but I can't. Asterisk." Asterisk, I'm just a trash tier character with all my stats at F rank. This is only a simulation with no real danger. Asterisk, asterisk. So my desperate survival skill won't activate. These things are just artificial constructs running on a script. Asterisk, asterisk, desperate survival isn't omnipotent. I have to raise my stats, and fast. Asterisk. Suddenly, Elia rushed toward Dot, her face twisted in a terrifyingly determined expression. Sword in hand, she charged straight at him, yelling, Dot. His face went pale, his eyes wide and pupils contracted as he forced a strained smile. Asterisk, how cruel. Asterisk, Elia leaped into the air, swinging her sword with immense power, and the slash severed the head of a large humanoid monster that had been standing right behind Dot. Her face was a mask of fierce, confident determination. Dot could only stare, his mouth hanging open in shock. The moment she landed, confetti cannons went off. An announcement declared, an astonishing speed. She has broken the previous record. Elia, still reeling, asked in confusion, what the hell is happening? I set a record fighting alone. This is supposed to be a two-person stage. How is this possible? He gave a slightly strange smile, thinking to himself, asterisk, I might look like a total slob, but I'm a bona fide cheat character. Asterisk. Then, Dot replied to Elia, we just got lucky. The next area will be a bit tougher, but let's press on. Good luck. But he seemed oblivious to how furious she was, her eyebrows tightly knitted, her eyes squeezed shut and her teeth biting her lip. She was so mad she couldn't even be bothered to turn around and curse him out. Meanwhile, the entire battle had apparently been watched by someone through a magic mirror, and this observer commented with admiration. They're doing quite well, aren't they? This was the dean of SPASB, Bercy. She placed a finger to her lips thoughtfully and decided, it looks like we'll have to allocate more funds for simulated battles next year, then turned to ask for an opinion. What are your thoughts, Conrad? A man in a green, military uniform rested his hand on the head of another person who was just over a meter tall and asked, was this designed by the tactics department? That person replied, mm-hmm. The man in the uniform, Conrad, continued. But more importantly, it seems we're quite lucky that the one we're targeting is performing so well. At this, Bercy replied, are you referring to the girl? The warrior candidates for the next class are showing phenomenal growth. She's certainly someone to keep an eye on. But he immediately corrected himself. No, not her. Him. Campbell. Bercy questioned this, looking annoyed. That con artist? Isn't he just riding the coattails of the warrior candidate? This is the problem with you mages who only know how to twirl your pens. Why are we even arguing about this? But Conrad responded decisively. That warrior candidate could never have set this record by herself. She was taken aback. What? Then he began to explain. Anyone can see she's the stronger one, the one doing all the fighting. But he is the key. The way he positions his partner, the way he issues commands with split-second precision, his perfect ability to cover her weaknesses. Every single thing he does is the absolute correct move. Conrad thought to himself, asterisk, everything is meticulously calculated. It's as if he's been through all this before, asterisk, fought on a brutal battlefield thousands of times. He then turned to BY and suggested, BY, place your bet. This caught her by surprise. Just then, Dot and Elia heard a voice over the speaker, like a mic check. This is Zodiac, from the Night Department. I became interested after observing you two. The Magic Department has decided to place a bet on whether you two can pass your first year. If you two actually succeed, I will grant you a special privilege. You can make any request you want. Hearing this, Bai couldn't hide her surprise. She looked completely baffled. Huh? Why would you go this far, sir? He continued. If you feel pressured, I won't force you. In your current situation, this request is nearly impossible. But surprisingly, Dot replied confidently and clearly, that's fine. He asserted decisively. Of course, we can absolutely do it. Elia was extremely alarmed, her expression uncertain. Huh? Dot's confidence earned him a displeased look from BY. But Zodiac was the opposite. I'll bet on your success. Then let's begin. Elsewhere. Geez, what in the world is going on here? Iofant complained with a dissatisfied look. I get that you came here to clear your head. Suddenly, a voice cut in. Hand me the water. Then she continued her nagging. But do you really need to overdo it like this? Io lay there exhausted, warily reaching out for the water bottle. She spoke in a heavy voice. There's something I want to remember. Not quite understanding Io's meaning. Iofant asked again. Want to remember? She confided, when I was little, my mother taught me these techniques, but I don't remember them clearly, so I'm trying to review them. A demon lives in the bloodline of the Chiser family. This dark rumor has two sides. One is the transcendent, inhuman talent they possess. When asked, Io, aren't you overdoing it? She slowly opened her eyes. The other side is the sudden fits of madness, moments of extreme violence and the decay of reason. That's why, Even though members of the Chiser family have achieved countless great feats, their final years are always tragic. She paused. Io opened the water bottle and drank continuously. Iofan asked, "It's not that serious, right?" She bolted upright and replied, "There's nothing to worry about. I don't concern myself with it anymore." The other girl asked disbelievingly, "Really? Then I guess I can speak freely." Io put the water bottle down, looking serious. "Why are you being so cautious? I already told you, there's nothing that can bother me now." The auburn-haired girl replied, "It's about that. That person told me I had to report immediately. I heard this from a junior. Dot is currently with the warrior candidate from the next class." Hearing this, Io turned to her. "The warrior candidate from the next class?" The other girl quickly confirmed. "Yes, Elia Chiser, the girl who fought Dot." She surmised dreamily, "So you're saying those two are teaming up? Because the simulation test is done in pairs." "I see. But it was easy to tell." She sighed again, probably lost in thought. The water bottle was now crushed out of shape, water spilling onto the floor. Io said, "Take me there." Iofant suddenly raised her voice. "But you just said you weren't bothered by it." Seeing this, Dot drew his sword. Elia asked, "What are you planning to do? I know you're really good, but the thing is. Even so, is it really worth challenging the all-time record?" He just gave a short, indifferent reply. "Yeah." Faced with Dot's reaction, the disheveled Elia frowned slightly. "Your confidence is no joke. Do you actually have a plan?" He adjusted his clothes, thinking to himself, the artificial monsters have a fixed movement pattern, so it should be easy to target their weak points. But that's something I can't tell her. So he gave a very superficial reply, "It's fine, because you're here with me." Hearing this, she furrowed her brow slightly, her cheeks flushing red. She replied, "I don't believe you." Just then, Zodiac's voice came over the announcement speaker. "This is Zodiac. Are you two ready?" Without a moment's hesitation, he replied, "I'm ready." Hearing the certainty in his answer, he sounded a little impressed. "Perfect. Now, let's adjust the test's difficulty. But if they did, they would receive bonus points." Dot replied confidently, "Please set the difficulty to the highest level." Hearing this, Percy frowned and said loudly, "You really can't trust these first years. It might seem reasonable, but this is going too far. At the highest difficulty level, they could lose their lives." He still answered with utmost confidence, "Even so, I believe it's worth a try." Seeing his confidence, Zodiac was pleased. Grant his request. Elia was visibly worried, probably not thinking that 2 first years could complete a mission on the highest difficulty. Dot reassured her, "Don't worry, warrior. The die is cast, there's no turning back now." Meanwhile, BY was enjoying a warm drink with a delicious cream cake being served to her. "I can't believe you, Zodiac. You're acting like this is the first time. Hadn't we done the same thing with the previous first years?" She thought something was different this time. He replied confidently, "Just wait and see. Professor BY certainly has a reason to be so confident. No matter how dangerous things get, all we have to do is take them down." "All right, slaughter mode activated. Show me what you've got." The first-year student, Elia, shouted, "Damn it, let's go." But I could only sigh helplessly. The dean of the tactics department had tears streaming down his face. "Our club is finished." Meanwhile, Dot was incredibly confident. Monsters rushed toward Dot from all directions. At this sight, the system displayed a bright red warning, "Danger detected." The danger level has been identified as life-threatening. His hand tightened around his sword, his face calm and focused. Dot swung his sword with incredible speed and power. With a single slash, the head of the massive, ferocious rhinoceros in front of him was severed from its neck. Conrad was ecstatic. He yelled, "I knew it. That's exactly what I was waiting for. Bye. Did you see that?" She was so surprised, she spat out the tea in her mouth. The dean of the tactics department's eyes also widened in astonishment. Elia, who was fighting off the monsters, saw it too and exclaimed, "Dot, I knew you could do it." A large wolf was charging aggressively toward him. Unafraid, Dot ran toward it at an incredible speed. But I couldn't believe what she was seeing. How is this possible? He was completely useless. Every one of Dot's slashes was incredibly precise. With just a single strike, he could instantly take down a monster. Conrad, seeming to understand him perfectly, replied, "He was just pretending. Don't blame yourself. Anyone who hadn't seen his true skills would react the same way. But as time goes on, the monsters will get stronger, and so will he. That means both sides will grow together." At this moment, Elia was completely focused on her own battle. She had taken down 2 monsters and a giant ant in quick succession. Dot wasn't far behind, having defeated the same number of beasts. They continuously took down many powerful monsters. Elia gritted her teeth and swung her sword, her form and weapon becoming a sharp, dazzling blur. After landing a critical blow on the giant ant, she yelled, "Now, Dot." He immediately understood and replied, "Got it." He then used Elia's shoulder as a launch pad and jumped up. Dot positioned himself perfectly, preparing for a magnificent sword strike. Swordsmanship. Slicer de la Weaver. He unleashed countless critical strikes upon the giant ant. Afterwards, Dot landed gracefully. An announcement rang out. Congratulations. This power is astonishing. Dot and Elia came next her. They have broken the all-time record. But it seemed the giant ant wasn't completely defeated yet. It raised its sharp leg, intending to pierce right through him. Seeing the dire situation, she immediately warned him. Huh? Dot. He turned in surprise to see the attack was right upon him. Suddenly, there was a sound. Looking down, he saw only a streak of golden light flash by. Conrad's precise and powerful strike had caused the monster's body to explode into 100 pieces. It seemed Dot hadn't yet recovered from that dangerous moment. He stood there stunned while the older man had successfully cleared the obstacle. He landed right in front of Dot and praised him. Congratulations. It seems this record won't be easily broken. Dot's face was still dazed, while the other man kept chattering on. Who would have thought a first year could handle El Pante's artificial monsters as easily as cutting grass? Although Elia was out of breath, she was still excited. Professor Conrad, though tired, sounded very pleased. Thank you to our warrior candidates for your efforts. Conrad sheathed his sword with a triumphant smile. I won. Bai. Bai's lips turned down slightly, still in disbelief. Unbelievable. Not long after, the results were in. He and she read the reward decision together, clicking their tongues in approval. The right to rent the entire warehouse and to request anything from the dean of the magic department. Elia shouted with excitement. This is amazing. Dot, who was peeking over, was also pleased. No first-year student has ever had this privilege. The rewards are pretty generous, huh? Then she turned to ask him, Hey Dot, I've noticed this for a while, but why are you always so calm? Dot calmly asked back, What do you mean? Elia smiled slightly and answered, No matter what happens, you always act as if you already know how things will turn out, or as if everything is going according to your plan. There's something about the way you act that gives off that vibe. Hearing her assessment, he thought to himself, Of course. That's because I already know everything that's going to happen. You idiot. Elia held out her fist, signaling for a fist bump. Hey, Dot asked, confused, what? Her face lit up as she replied, Isn't this what friends do? I mean, a fist bump. You're really clueless, you know. The moment their fists touched, the system display appeared. Elia Kane. Curiosity. Level 5 is approaching the trustworthy stage. Dot asked, Are you okay? Elia's cheeks flushed slightly as she replied softly, Yeah. With that, she turned and ran off, leaving him standing there as she called back cheerfully, Well, see you tomorrow, Dot. Suddenly, someone spoke up. I can't tell if she's a friendly type or just plain weird. Dot shook his head and replied, I was thinking the same thing. Then he suddenly realized the voice was very familiar. Wait a minute. Student Council President Aeon, Elo, completely calm and with an unreadable expression, asked, So, you like that first-year student? When he didn't answer, she cleared her throat, startling Dot. He grew flustered, stammering, unsure of how to reply. What? Her? Then, Dot thought to himself, if desperate survival doesn't activate, it seems she has no intention of doing anything to me. Wait a minute. Isn't that obvious? It's not like I'm her boyfriend or something. But Elo had no intention of letting it go and pressed on, her tone more serious than before. I'll only ask this once. Do you like that first-year student? As Dot was still hesitating, unsure how to respond, the system's voice suddenly blared, a warning. Danger detected. This terrified him. His face went pale as an indescribable feeling washed over him. I feel like I have to say something, all while the system relentlessly warned of the detected danger. Just then, Dot spoke, his voice unusually calm. So what if I do? Student Council President Elo was taken aback. What? His composure didn't last long. He was once again overwhelmed by her presence and became flustered. Well, Dot gathered all his courage, squeezed his eyes shut, and told her decisively, Even though I've been training with Elia this whole time, I really wanted to see you. She froze on the spot, stunned by what Dot had just said. Why so suddenly? Now, Dot let out a sigh of relief as if he'd just escaped a dangerous situation, but the psychological battle inside him was far from over. He questioned himself, What the hell are you doing? Damn it, I can't believe that actually worked. The corners of Elo's lips seemed to curve into a slight smile. She confirmed with him, So, you're saying you've been missing me this whole time? Without even thinking, Dot quickly replied, That's right. Elo crossed her arms and challenged him. Why? He clearly hadn't anticipated this question and could only stammer, at a loss for words. Well, I don't really know why either. Deep down, Dot was asking himself the same thing. What is this? What's wrong with me? Seeing him like this, she gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Her cheeks flushed as she glanced away, revealing a rare, bashful expression. Never mind. Perhaps this is just some kind of friendship. I get it. It's because I saved you on that train, isn't it? You do remember the priority list, don't you? Hearing her say that, he was completely bewildered, as if the memory of that priority list had never existed. What priority list is she talking about? What's going on? Before he could answer, she handed him an envelope and explained, "Don't worry, I just came here to give you this." Seeing it, Dot immediately asked, "What is this?" He was completely baffled as he took the envelope, unable to guess what it could possibly contain. A love letter? A challenge? This wasn't in the original story. She looked away shyly. "I was going to give you this tomorrow. Just make sure you open it when you're alone." Still not understanding what was happening, Dot scratched his head in confusion and replied, "Okay." The rays of the setting sun streamed into the room. He felt a pang of regret and confusion. "I shouldn't have opened it. Does she want me to be her teammate? Tomorrow is the welcome party for new students. I completely forgot." But then he thought that becoming her teammate wasn't really a big deal. "I just have to spend some time with her at the welcome party. The only problem is the penalty for refusing her offer. Not only will her affection level drop, but it might also make someone else hostile towards me." Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Dot opened it and said, "I knew it was you." Elia looked a little surprised. "You figured it out fast." With that, Elia held out an envelope. "Here." Dot was astonished. "Not this again?" Hearing that, she immediately pressed him. "What do you mean by again? Did someone else give you one of these?" He stammered. "No, I just meant, what is this?" Dot thought to himself, "I almost died right there. Don't tell me she's also here to make a request." Elia pointed at him and gave a playful wink. "What do you think?" "I've made up my mind since the simulation match. Gotta go now. She's just like those troublemakers the student council president had to call a doctor for." Then, she leaped over the railing to the floor below. Elia's face was brimming with excitement as she yelled, "Open it quickly." Dot reached out to stop her. But it was too late, wasn't it? Why are there so many weird people in the world? He wondered what was inside. Is this another request to become a teammate? Coming from Elia, it could also be a challenge. But she did say it was a surprise, so that's the most likely guess. An image of Elo and Elia facing off flashed through his mind. Neither one would back down. Dot yelled in horror. "It's a request to be teammates. This wasn't in the original story at all. Why can't I get an easier choice? If I choose Elo, I'll be treated as a villain by the protagonist. But if I choose Elia, I'll make the final boss hostile toward me and probably end up dead because of that damn priority list. So what if I refuse both of them? I don't know what to do anymore. This must be happening because they're both still in the interest phase. This is so troublesome." Dot had a bold idea. Could he possibly go for both of them? And so, the day of the freshman welcome party arrived. The venue was magnificently decorated. Bright clusters of lanterns cast a sparkling light throughout the entire room. The place was bustling with noise and excitement. "Class B, this way. Where's the last student from Class C? Are they already in the hall?" The freshmen happily mingled and got to know each other. "Hey, aren't you a student from Class A?" "Class A." A young man with brown, parted hair spoke up. "Professor, they're here." There were so many students at this welcome party. It was just a sea of people everywhere you looked. The scene was incredibly crowded and lively. Elia looked absolutely beautiful. She didn't seem to like crowded places and let out a frustrated sigh. "It's so crowded, this place is basically a pigsty." She turned to the person next to her, looking absolutely radiant. "Anyway, thank you for coming with me." Dot looked completely different now with his hair parted. The two of them headed inside together, cutting back to when he was buying a $1,000 clone item that could create a copy of himself. All enhancement effects will be applied. Dot seemed to have high hopes for this item's effectiveness. "I've used up all my points. Even if it can only stand in for me, it might still be useful." Just then, the system displayed a notification for a double date event. "You have decided to go on a date with both of them. Do not get caught before the end of the event. There will be a penalty for failure. No matter how crowded it is, this plan could still fail miserably. If someone sees me and my clone in the same place, I'll be found out immediately." Therefore, he decided to use the cold gentleman option to shut him up. And then, suddenly, Dot was startled by an incredibly loud noise. It was a growling monster. It bared its sharp fangs, looking incredibly furious. It was locked in an iron cage and was being transported by a carriage. A voice shouted a warning, "Get out of the way." He regained his composure and breathed a sigh of relief. "It's just a monster from the outside. It seems like they're going to experiment on it and then let it escape. That's when the main event will begin. And all I need to do is survive. With Elo and Elia by my side, it won't be too bad, right?" Just then, a mishap occurred. The pheromone effect was activated. "You are no longer an ordinary boy" has been applied. He suddenly realized his body was emitting a strange, alluring scent. Elo appeared. "There you are." Dot was startled. "Oh." The student council president. She quickly noticed the scent. "Huh, what's this? What's that smell? Are you wearing perfume?" Dot tried to make an excuse. It's just the flowers here that smell nice. But Elo trusted her sense of smell. I know that scent is coming from you, but this scent, it's driving me crazy. Dot tried to brush the strange scent off his body. He was getting annoyed. What the hell is this pheromone thing? Please, just stop. Elo closed her eyes as if trying to hide something. A system notification appeared. The pheromone effect has been applied to the target, Elo. The target is trying her best not to be attracted to you. While Dot was dazed, he heard a sweet voice beside him. Dot shyly glanced into her eyes. I don't know why I'm only just realizing this now, she continued. But you're more manly than I thought. Dot was shocked, his mouth agape and eyes wide, screaming internally with all his might. He forced a smile and tried to change the subject. Why don't we head to the event? How about we check out the stalls nearby? Elo replied as she moved closer. You lead the way. The freshman was a little worried, thinking to himself. By now, my clone has probably already met up with Elia. I have to avoid running into them at all costs. Drawn in by Dot's pheromones, Elo was trying to calm herself down and keep a clear head. She silently told herself, calm down, stay calm. Meanwhile, Dot was just praying he wouldn't run into his clone, hoping nothing would go wrong. If things keep going like this, it might be fine. My clone and I just need to escort both of them, and that's it, Dot suggested. Hey, why don't we stop by that snack stall and get something to eat? With blushing cheeks, Elo gently nodded in agreement. Okay. Arriving at a barbecue stall and seeing the fragrant golden skewers on the grill, he said to her, how about we try these wild boar skewers? He was sure this was the worst possible choice for Elo. Someone like her, who always watched her figure, needed to counteract the pheromones effect immediately. But contrary to what Dot expected, Elo lowered her head shyly and asked, how do you know I like this? Could it just be a coincidence? Her unexpected question made him stammer. Why? Yes. But inwardly, he was completely stunned. Oh my God, he thought. Maybe if she thought I didn't like wild boar, things would have been different. Elo, still eating her boar skewer, turned and asked, interrupting his train of thought, Dot, are you going to eat? Not knowing how to answer, Dot could only look away to hide his awkwardness. I need to maintain this relationship, but at the same time, I have to keep my distance. I also need to make sure Elia stays far away from us. The farther, the better. Elo walked over to a street stall and said with excitement, looks like they sell accessories here. Hey, freshman, do you need anything? Dot looked at the cute little trinkets in front of him, figuring any girl would like them. He said no, but insisted. Let me buy something for you. He said that, but his thoughts screamed the exact opposite. A gift for Elo? No way. I have to lower her affection for me. Dot picked out a plain, unremarkable yellow button. He asked Elo, this button looks decent. What do you think? He figured he had to give her the worst gift imaginable. But Elo's reaction left him utterly disappointed. The girl replied shyly, actually, I needed a button to replace one on my uniform. That made Dot grit his teeth and curse himself again. I'm so screwed. Afterwards, they both decided to sit down to rest and have a bite to eat. Elo asked curiously, come to think of it, have you chosen your major yet? Dot and Elo picked a table in a fairly private area. Several delicious-looking dishes were already on the table. Answering her question, he said, I have. I'm planning to study theology. She was a bit surprised and asked again, theology? Are you sure you don't want to reconsider? With your talent, it would be a huge waste not to join the Knight's Order. But Dot explained his choice. I have my reasons for choosing this path. It's been part of my plan all along. It wasn't a spontaneous decision. Elo placed her hands on the table and asked seriously, what reasons? Dot could only answer, to protect what's important to me, there are certain things I need to learn there. She asked, still curious, and what is it that you want to protect? Looking at her, he thought to himself, asterisk. There's only one answer. My own life, and your downfall. Asterisk. The sacred arts are the key to my survival. They're essential to achieving the ending I desire. And of course, he didn't say that to Elo. Dot replied, ever since I was a child, there's been something I've wanted to protect. It's related to an incident involving a secret society, an event that will happen in the future. That final boss is particularly weak against sacred arts. She frowned slightly and asked, does this have anything to do with why you keep getting involved with me? Dot found it hard to answer, just humming non-committally. At that, Elo continued bluntly, I'm well aware of the curse of the Chiso family, the curse that drives all members of the family to madness. But isn't the only way to suppress it through mental training? Do you know how to break the curse? To her surprise, Dot answered softly, the blessing of the archangels. A miracle where two archangels bestow their blessing upon a single person. At least, that's what the rumors say. Elo's eyes remained serious as she said, exactly. And you understand just how difficult that is. That's why no matter how many great deeds the Chiso family accomplished in the past, we have always been feared. So, Why can you stay so close to me? Why is it that every time someone tries to assassinate me, you always show up at the perfect moment? What are you really after? Dot didn't evade the question. He looked her straight in the eye and affirmed, the one I want to protect is you. She seemed confused. What am I to you that you would want to protect me? He answered, if I don't protect you, I will die. That's the truth. I have no other reason. Elo, now calm, gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear and replied, I've known that from the very beginning. But you truly are a strange one. He sighed, as if he was used to hearing that. I get that a lot. In his heart, he felt a sense of relief for having been honest with her. I told her the complete truth, without a single lie. Hopefully, that's enough to satisfy her curiosity. The scene shifts to another location, which appears to be some kind of dungeon. A woman was thinking, asterisk, he really is a strange one. Asterisk, it was Elia, with Dot's clone. All around them, ferocious monsters were growling, creating a terrifying atmosphere. Elia walked ahead, wondering to herself, asterisk, is he mad at me? Asterisk, why is he being so quiet? Suddenly, Dot stopped. His voice filled with confusion as he asked, wait a minute, when did we get to a basement? She turned back to look at him, thinking to herself, asterisk, I need to get closer to him to learn more about the chi. So family. Asterisk, I really don't know how to deal with people like him. To be more precise, I don't know how to deal with men at all. This is driving me crazy. Meanwhile, this clone of Dot was busy observing his surroundings. What the hell is this place? They're all living monsters, Elia said as she walked. Looks like they're being used for the Academy's experiments. The professors here are so irresponsible. How could they just leave these things down here in the basement like this? A nearby monster let out a furious growl, catching her attention. She turned in surprise. Huh. Elia observed the monster and exclaimed, they even have the big ones down here. She curiously approached the cage holding the ferocious beast. She noted with a strange tone, wait a minute, they're not even chained up. Suddenly, the sensor that locked the cage beeped. That made the monster growl even more fiercely. Elia's eyes widened in horror, too shocked to react in time. A deafening explosion erupted. Dot acted fast, pulling her behind him as a shield and trying to get away from the blast. The scene cuts back to Dot, who was dining with Elo. He felt the tremors caused by the explosion. She also sensed that something was wrong. Everyone at the welcome party felt the shaking from the explosion. Many even screamed in fear. Shielded from the blast by Dot's clone, she couldn't help but ask in shock, Dot, why? He looked at her and replied gently, this is my job. Elo was stunned by Dot's bizarre response. She gave him an incredibly strange look. Sitting up, she asked, huh? What are you talking about? The earlier explosion had set most of the dungeon ablaze. It had freed the monsters from their cages, and now they were closing in on the two of them. The beasts bared their razor-sharp fangs, growling as they prepared to attack. Looking around, the only things available as weapons were iron bars from the monsters' broken cages. Her eyes filled with determination. In any case, thank you for protecting me. Now, it's my turn to protect you. The sound of a system notification rang out. Main quest, monsters have appeared. Resolve the situation immediately. If too many people die, you will receive a severe penalty in the scenario. Reward. Materials for crafting exclusive equipment. Hearing the system notification, Dot immediately took off. There's something I have to do, he explained, then hastily asked, Guildmaster, I need you to go find one of the priests. Elo raised an eyebrow in confusion. Wait. With an urgent expression, Dot pleaded, please. He pressed on. We have to protect the students first. As Elo was panting from exhaustion, the system displayed another update. Clone body has been retrieved. Just then, Dot hurried over to her, asking, Elo, were these all the monsters that were freed? Crouching with an iron bar in hand, Elia looked up at him and said softly, you're awake, thank heavens. At the same time, the system registered Elo's favorability has increased. Level, curious interest. The system then confirmed, main scenario has changed. She quickly informed him, I missed a big monster. Hearing that, he was stunned, realizing, the bear from before. That must be it. Elia's face darkened as she sighed. It must still be somewhere on the first floor. If we hurry, we can stop it. She whispered warily, I think I need to rest for a bit. Seeing her state, he asked with concern, are you okay? Asterisk Elia. Asterisk, he thought, unsettled. Asterisk. Right now, the main scenario is the most important thing. Asterisk. Asterisk. If I fail, I'll get a huge penalty. I have to prevent that. Asterisk. Just then, everyone looked up, their faces filled with horror. The monster's eyes glowed with a terrifying red light. A voice shouted, try to hold on until the professor and the knights get here. Make sure the barrier doesn't break. It roared, attempting to shatter the barrier. Cracks began to appear on the surface of the shield. Suddenly, a strong voice spoke up. Neither the headmaster nor the professors are here at the moment. His tone was firm. Even so, we cannot use the angel's blessing. Elo spoke up, displeased. And you call yourself a priest? There are students over there. The man turned to her and explained defensively. Those are very harsh words to use with a priest, Lady Elo. A high-level barrier like the angel's blessing isn't something just anyone can cast. Let's wait for the knights to arrive and sort this out. This is exactly why I tried to stop them from experimenting on those monsters from the very beginning. I knew we should have never given that authority to the Chi-Soten family. Hearing this, she frowned and angrily gritted her teeth. Dot couldn't wait any longer. He immediately rushed out, declaring, I'll handle this myself. Dot's rashness made the man panic. Wait, somebody stop him, he shouted. But he kept charging toward the monster, ignoring the man behind him. Trembling with anger, the man yelled, You're just a student. Do you even know what a blessing is? Standing nearby, she looked on in confusion and softly called his name, Dot. Dot's gaze was sharp and determined, showing no fear. As he decisively charged forward, the system updated his status. Supreme divinity has merged with the priest's rosary. The golden vessel opened, releasing a blinding light everywhere. The system displayed the available skill, Penance of the Holy Rakshasa. The system continued to register. Dangerous situation detected. The system issued a life-threatening warning. X-rank skill, Desperate Survival, has been activated. At the same time, he slid past the monster. The priest noticed and yelled, Hey, wait, why aren't you running away? I'll buy us some time, he said urgently. Evacuate the students now. The ferocious monster lunged, preparing to strike. The system announced, Penance skill activated. All substats will be converted to Constitution. Holy Rakshasa. He held out his hands, and a brilliant golden cross materialized. A pair of angelic wings appeared, shielding him from the monster's powerful attack. He gritted his teeth, enduring the blow. Everyone watching was left speechless with amazement. Is that the angel's blessing? How can an ordinary student possibly cast that? The priest in the back was practically tearing his hair out with jealousy. That idiot. Does he have any idea that even official priests have to pray thousands of times to be able to use that? She remained silent, thinking calmly to herself. Asterisk. After everything that's happened, I'm not even surprised anymore. Asterisk. Asterisk. I've seen him hide his true abilities countless times. Asterisk. Meanwhile, the priest still couldn't believe his eyes and yelled, How can that idiotic monster not break through a simple barrier? Is it that simple? He questioned again. And to think that barrier was erected by a student. Satan calmly said, Let's be real. Are you even a professor? You haven't done a single thing, Io turned to ask. Meanwhile, Elia hit him without hesitation, replying with a deadpan expression, The student council president. He's clearly useless to us. Let's just ignore him. Then she turned to the other girl and asked, Why are you so late? The girl trembled all over and hastily explained, I was unconscious in the basement. I just got up here. But never mind that. That guy, he can cast a blessing right on the spot. Just like that. He's not even a battle priest. People say you need at least 10 years of training to use that. How could this be possible? Hearing this, Io was momentarily surprised. She mused, Pure holy energy can only be used after 10 years of training. Io recalled what Dot had said before, I need to learn in this department. If I don't protect you, I'll die. I have no other reason. She became lost in thought, her gaze unfocused. Elia glanced over, her expression one of admiration. Even if it's a stored blessing, there must be a limit to how well he can control it for your sake. Io looked over, asking what she was talking about. Io's chest rose and fell. Elia closed her eyes, explaining softly, He's doing all this for the Chi-Soten family. And for you. Otherwise, there's no other reason he would do all this. Io was slowly starting to understand, but she wasn't certain. I had a feeling right from the start, she thought. But she just sat hugging her knees in the darkness, her eyes staring listlessly into the distance. A light was shining from that direction. Io's eyes widened to get a better look. At that exact moment, she raised her sword high. She faced in Dot's direction, thinking about him. You really are a strange one. The monster's attacks grew more and more powerful. Dot was struggling to fight it off. Elia exclaimed in a daze, President. Everyone stared, their eyes wide and jaws agape in utter shock. Io's eyes were filled with determination. Without a moment's hesitation, she charged straight at the monster with her sharp sword. Asterisk swoosh. Asterisk Io leaped into the air. She brought her sword down right on the nape of the monster's neck. The sudden, intense pain caused it to roar. In the next moment, the monster was slammed violently to the ground. His eyes widened as he cried out, Io. The monster roared furiously. Burning with rage, it got back on its feet and charged toward her at lightning speed. She resolutely pointed her sword at it. The power radiating from the blade was overwhelming. He stood frozen, staring at Io with wide eyes. That's the true cheese, turned swordsmanship. She masterfully drove her sword into the creature again and again. Beams of light energy continuously shot forth from the blade, heading straight for the monster's body. Io's expression didn't waver for a second. The monster was so overwhelmed by the assault that it couldn't fight back, only endure the blows. She widened her stance. In a flash, Io appeared right in front of it. In another instant, her sword would reach the monster's neck. The arc of her swing created a shockwave that sent the grievously wounded monster flying, resulting in a massive explosion. She majestically brushed her hair aside as she watched. Io chanted the incantation, Pater Montana. A massive, earth-shattering explosion erupted. Io calmly glanced at Dot, who was still stunned by her power. He marveled that it was on a completely different level from the replica version he had used. Wait a second, this can't be right. In the original story, Io was never involved in any of this. A system window appeared. Main quest, defeat the monster acknowledged. Current casualties, 0. An incredible achievement. The system announced a reminder. Time until night's arrival, 30 seconds. His gaze shifted to the right as he speculated to himself. All of the professors who supported live monster experimentation were supporters of House Chi's turn. If Io gets involved personally, it means she's indirectly admitting her family's wrongdoing. Io stood before a sea of flames without a trace of fear, her posture filled with pride. But Io has never been interested in politics, so why would she help us? I don't get it. Whatever. I'll just focus on finishing the mission first. I can worry about that other stuff later. Outside, the fire was raging. A voice called out, "Everyone, get out quickly." Is anyone still trapped inside? A voice called back in confirmation, "No, we're all out." She said nothing, her expression cool and distant as she sheathed her sword, her posture exuding an air of elegance. Io let out a sigh of relief. It's over. Dot's brow furrowed, as if he'd noticed something terribly wrong. From behind, the monster emerged from the fire, swinging its arm at her. He instantly shouted a warning. "President, look out behind you." Io's eyes widened as she sensed the danger. She spun around just in time to see him already there, using the angel's blessing to block the creature's surprise attack and shield her. With all its fur burned off, the monster revealed a skeletal head. It roared, relentlessly attacking Dot. Io was stunned by his actions. Exhausted, his eyes glazed over as he coughed up blood. He slowly began to collapse, his vision blurring. A long time later, Dot awoke with a start. A voice said, "You're awake." He mumbled groggily, "The monster?" "Io." Auntie replied, "The monster has been eliminated." He recognized the person before him. Principal Auntie. She closed her book and announced cheerfully, "Of course. All the students are safe. Are you surprised to see me? I didn't get a chance to speak with you after the freshmen's tournament." Dot regained his composure and replied, "Don't worry, I'm fine." He thought to himself, Auntie, the Imo. She's lived for over 1,000 years. Why would someone like that come to see me? Could it be because I used the angel's blessing? She got straight to the point. "I've come to give you some bad news." "Ah, no. It's one piece of bad news, and one piece of even worse news. Which would you like to hear first?" Dot answered without hesitation. "The bad news." She then began to explain. "You are currently receiving more attention than anyone in the Academy's history. No student has ever been involved in as many accidents and incidents as you, and based on my experience, with your kind of bad luck, this is only going to continue." Dot frowned, thinking to himself, "It's not like I wanted any of this to happen." He then asked, "So, what's the worst news?" She narrowed her eyes, studying him. "What do you know? About demons?" At that moment, the light from the lamp seemed to illuminate the entire room. Auntie let out a small laugh. "That's a rather interesting reaction. Dot, you don't seem worried at all, even though the Academy president just brought it up." Dot hesitated. "Oh, well." Sitting on his bed, he looked at her and continued, "I can't tell you everything I know. If I did, I wouldn't be able to figure out what you're plotting." Atan looked intrigued. "Plotting?" Dot replied calmly. "I'm the only student who hasn't been assigned a class, and I can't even attend any lectures." "I see. Are you upset about that?" "Just like with all the recent incidents, I had to deal with quite a few problems. Don't you realize that? The ruling powers don't have much control over society anymore. The timing couldn't be worse. They'll do anything to recruit talented individuals, even if it means dragging them up from hell." Dot looked away and continued. "The coup in Bayzat, the restructuring of the Holy Empire, and the struggle for succession. Aren't they all connected? That's the cause of every recent incident." She glanced at him, thinking to herself, "Just look at him." Then she replied, "Yes, you're right. On the surface, the Golden Triangle may seem peaceful, but underneath, a fierce battle for exceptional talent is raging. Most students are oblivious to these matters, but the repercussions have already spread across the entire continent. Its impact has reached El Fant, the tribal council, and even the Holy Empire. It's causing all three of these powerful empires to secretly prepare for a massive war. Dot touched his chin, remarking, "All the incidents I've been involved in must have caught their attention, but despite that, they haven't made a move yet. That could only happen if someone is controlling the flow of information." She said nothing, simply crossing her arms with a satisfied smile as she thought, "He's surprisingly skilled at politics, too." Dot frowned and asked seriously, "So, does this mean it's dangerous for me to be on their radar?" Atan replied softly, "That's right, the world will end." Hearing this, Dot was instantly horrified. He imagined a scene of firebombs raining down on the continent, with humanity perishing in the blazing inferno. How horrifying would the apocalypse be? She held out a piece of paper bearing the seal of the purifiers for him to see, then asked, "Do you recognize this seal? This is why I asked you about demons." Dot looked at the seal and panicked internally. The seal of the purifiers. Seeing his shocked expression, she was also quite surprised. He knows about this, too. The Purifiers are an organization that worships demons and operates in the shadows. Their sole purpose is to summon demons and destroy the world. Both the failed assassination attempt on Elo and the monster outbreak were their doing. Both incidents were aimed at the Chi Sotun family. And there's no guarantee there won't be a third attempt. Dot was silent for a moment, then asked, "Why are you telling me this?" She summoned a black card. White cracks appeared on its surface as she answered, "Although I can't tell you why, I want you to take this." He took the black card, thinking in astonishment, an interdimensional key. This is an item that could shatter the balance of power. It can open a door to other worlds. Seeing the look on Dot's face, Atan Anti immediately understood. "Look at your face. I take it you know what that is. Keep it safe, and show me what you can do with it. If you manage to please me, I'll have more gifts for you." With a poof, a small explosion occurred overhead. Everything returned to how it was in the room before. Atan poured herself some tea and said, "This conversation must be kept a secret." Hearing this, he immediately agreed. Suddenly, she asked another question. "So, how are things going with you, the warrior candidate, and the young lady of the Chisotun family?" Dot's face instantly fell as he screamed internally. Why is she asking about that? Out loud, he just said, "It's fine." Atan Auntie sipped her hot tea, a knowing smile on her face. "I hope things stay that way." Confused, Dot was curious and had to ask, "Do I have to maintain a relationship with them?" She just kept smiling and replied softly, "That's right. If you don't, the world will end." He immediately clutched his head and yelled. Again. He imagined a rain of bombs and firestorms as the world was annihilated. Dot groaned internally. Why is this world so fragile? Seeing his anguished expression, Atananti burst out laughing. "I'm not kidding, you know." Then, she added silently to herself, "And you are the ultimate goal of this plan. This plan can only be carried out by 3 people. The scene briefly shifts to the outside of the academy, where a sigh is suddenly heard. Holding the interdimensional key, Dot intends to destroy the world. He stands in the middle of the hallway, feeling utterly dejected. "I'll think about that later, but I can't believe she actually gave this to me. An item that a player shouldn't even be able to possess. Something is definitely wrong with the main scenario." Suddenly, a voice calls out, "There you are." Hearing the voice, Dot is immediately startled. Professor Connat, the head knight named Connat, says with a smile, "I was looking for you, Dot." He quickly hides the key behind his back and asks calmly, "You were looking for me, sir?" The professor replies, "Even though you haven't been assigned to a class, I can't let you keep skipping school forever. This will be your temporary assignment. Starting tomorrow, you will study with these people." And then, his expression freezes over. The people mentioned in the letter are class president Elia Chit, Sotun, and that girl, Fleer Ja. The thought of those 2 girls makes Dot break out in a cold sweat. He screams, "The apocalypse is coming." Outside the academy's classroom window, sunlight bathes the walls in gold. Inside, a lecture can be heard. That is why the sword can be considered the most basic weapon in any situation, as I have said before. What about situations with obstacles? A voice suddenly cuts in. "Professor, I have a question." Seeing that someone has a question, he stops. "Go ahead." Lady Elia Chit, Sotun speaks up arrogantly. "Don't you think you're going a little too deep into theory? Sir, I don't believe this kind of knowledge will actually be useful in a real fight." Hearing this, the professor immediately turns his head in surprise and asks, "What did you just say?" Sitting in the lecture hall among thousands of other students, she says with utter arrogance, "In battle, even a seasoned knight can be taken down by a long-range weapon." Her words immediately fluster him. "Well, that certainly can happen." Elia continues arrogantly, "Unless you plan on training to the absolute extreme with a sword, it's essential to train in archery or throwing techniques as a supplement." At this, Fleer squints one eye and glances sideways, retorting, "I'm not so sure. I think what the professor said makes sense. As long as you know how to use the surrounding terrain, A swordsman can definitely dodge an arrow or a rock. But if the enemy gets in close, are you just going to fight them with your bare hands? So when there's no terrain to help, what will you do to close the attack gap? Isn't that precisely why we're learning about close quarters combat? Surely you understand the difference between theory and reality, don't you? This is the professor's lecture. If you feel forced to be here, you'd be better off just keeping quiet. Squeezed between them, he can only remain silent. His face is filled with fear at the intense but silent war between the two women. On the other side, Elia also raises an eyebrow and repeats, "Forced?" The two then lock eyes, challenging each other. She growls, "As the student council president, I have a responsibility to ensure the quality of education my fellow students are receiving." The other girl, not willing to lose, grits her teeth and hisses, "Then stop interrupting the professor. Why do you always have to butt in?" Seeing this, the professor weakly speaks up, trying to make peace. "Should we perhaps end the class here for today?" Elia frowns disdainfully and says, "Don't tell me you actually believe this theoretical nonsense can be applied in a real fight." Fleer snaps back in annoyance. "At least it's more useful than listening to you talk." "I actually do believe it. It's unbelievable that a warrior candidate can't even tell the difference between advice and an insult." At this point, Dot tries to clear his throat and asks, "Can we please continue the lecture?" She clenches her fist, smirking victoriously. "I agree. So, I win. I knew Dot would take my side." The other girl sighs, brushing her hair back as she listens to Elia's boasting, then speaks. "It was just one loss. Professor, please continue." Seeing that the situation had calmed down, he hesitantly tries to get the class back in order. I see. Well then, today will be a self-study day." At that same moment, a boy named Theo turns his head, frowning as he observes them. He fiddles with his system screen and mutters to himself, "They've been going at it this whole time. Thanks to them, all the other students have started giving us strange looks. I'm sitting between a warrior candidate and a family heir. Whatever. I should just focus on my own business." On the system screen at this moment is an image of Elia Chit Sotan. Trust level 5. Favorability 1. Reward ready to be claimed. He mutters in admiration. Not bad. Next up are the new skills. First is basic Chit Sotan swordsmanship. Proficiency at 58%. The legendary swordsmanship of the Grand Ducal Chit Sotan family. The user can effectively utilize this skill with any type of weapon. And the second is basic deep breathing technique, a breathing method that increases stamina and physical strength to their maximum levels. This skill has a high compatibility with the Chit Sotan swordsmanship. Dot strokes his chin, deep in thought. Both of these skills complement each other. Based on the physical buffs, this could be the most powerful combination. And the only person who can make the most of this combination is Elia. This is also the reason why. This made her the final boss. Additionally, the system screen changed to an image of Elia CXer, showing a curiosity level of 5, an interest level of 1, and a reward ready to be claimed. Then, the system introduced a new rule called the Law of Evil. Use your influence on the good people connected to you. The following individuals will be forced to accept one request from you. Keep your friends close, and your enemies closer. A high favorability with good individuals will yield greater rewards. If you can turn some good individuals evil, the rewards will be even greater. Dot looked at the information on the screen, bewildered. What the hell is this? I can get a reward for turning good people bad. The scene changed in a flash. Now, the group from the academy was walking through a vast forest. Connet announced in a loud voice, "Welcome, my little chicks. In Survival 101, we will be practicing survival skills. If you don't want to die in some dungeon or ruin, it's best you learn how to survive starting now. Your mission for today is very simple. Go into the forest and bring back something you think I will like. You have 10 minutes. Everyone started to get confused. Are there no grading criteria? He explained calmly, I've already told you, it all depends on me. The student council president and I will be grading you together, so good luck. Hearing this, Elia said nothing, just letting out a soft HMH. Everyone started to groan. This is so vague. Professor Connat then laughed wickedly amidst the students' shouts. Life is an experience, my little chicks. We will begin in 5 minutes. While everyone behind him was gathering to form groups, Dot sat by himself on a rock, staring at the system screen, deep in thought. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. How am I supposed to use this? How do I turn a good person evil? Suddenly, Elia appeared from behind him, leaning down to ask Dot, do you want to team up? Dot turned and replied, you should go work with your friends. She kept her friendly, inviting smile. Come on, I'm your friend too. He didn't answer, thinking to himself, it's best if you just go back to your main character group. Elia persisted, why don't we work together? Dot thought to himself, if that happens, I'll just be a thorn between you two. She put on a cute, concerned expression and asked, what's wrong? Are you not feeling well? He turned his face away and answered, it's nothing. It's just, we're not that close. Hearing that, Elia looked like she wanted to say something but couldn't get a word out. Then, her face stiffened, and she turned her head away, pouting. Having been completely humiliated by Dot, Elia immediately turned to leave. Is that so? What a shame. Fine. She called out softly with concern. Elia. He glanced over and felt a pang of guilt. Was I too cold? She looks really upset. Tale Ann, who had been observing the whole situation, suddenly spoke up. Dot Campbell. This made him look up curiously to see who it was. Tale Ann touched his chin and questioned him. What is your relationship with the warrior candidate? He was shocked, thinking to himself. Tale Ann, the second strongest in the class, right after Elia. He even becomes the sub-boss of Chapter 1 later. What's his problem with me? But outwardly, he just replied, I only know her by chance, the man said gloomily. Someone as strong as Elia has no reason to get involved with you. At the same time, the system displayed a message, Law of Evil. A good individual has been angered by your influence, Talai, and grabbed him by the collar, threatening. There are a lot of rumors about the suspicious outcome of your duel. Why do you keep trying to get close to her? He suddenly realized something. Status notification. It seems I've triggered a personality condition by making him angry, he hissed through gritted teeth. Tell the truth. That duel was just an act, wasn't it? Dot ignored his hateful words, thinking to himself, he's going to become a sub-boss later. Maybe I can use him and activate the law of evil for future use. Talayan roared. You can't hide the truth from me. He remained calm and didn't resist, merely moving close to him and whispering. The duel wasn't fake. But maybe you wish it was. Seeing your target defeated in a single blow. Can't you feel the gap between us? Elia, who seemed to have walked away, had actually been secretly watching him this whole time. Dot stood before Talayan and spoke seriously.
Seeing your goal defeated in just one blow. Can you feel the difference between us?
Hearing those provocative words, he became furious, his face contorted as he bit his lip hard. Then why don't we make a bet? Let's bet on who gets a higher score on this assignment. How about it? Although his expression was ugly, it seemed everything was going according to Dot's plan. Fine. Perfect. Elsewhere, Khanat was calling for Elia, student council president. I asked you to help grade the students. Don't you think you're being a little arbitrary about this? She immediately replied, I was being serious from the start. Khanat disagreed and asked with a stern face. Really? Then explain why someone has a perfect score before they've even submitted anything. Lo casually replied that he deserved it. The man was completely shocked to hear that. What did you just say? She winked and said, It seems you're not satisfied with my scoring method. He couldn't hold back and raised his voice. Why don't you try putting yourself in my shoes for a change? But Elo was not one to back down and retorted. In that case, why don't you observe him for a bit so you can see for yourself why he deserves a perfect score? Then, Elo turned to leave, saying, I'll be right back. But he grabbed her shoulder to stop her. Wait, I know you're trying to get close to him. Even though he hit a nerve, she didn't admit it. Of course not. I just don't want him to be alone with the warrior candidate. Then Elo made up an excuse to leave. Something might happen between those two. Please, let me go check. But he shot back just as quickly. Even if I don't allow you to participate, I can still kick you out entirely. How about that? Elsewhere, Chisa was currently very worried. She observed and assessed the situation quietly. Elia, she seems different today. Just then, Elia used her monstrous strength to punch a beast in front of her while kicking one behind her at the same time. Luca, with an axe over his shoulder, asked, All the strongest monsters are gathered here. Is there something special nearby? A blonde, freckle-faced man replied, You guessed right. This is a rare mineral zone. Another man wearing a monocle said, If we can get a few of these gems, we might avoid getting a low score. Another person spoke up, All right, let's stop hunting monsters for now. Luca, help move the ore, he shouted, while a black, spherical mass began to gather in front of someone's chest. That thing appeared around Elia while she was still busy fighting the beasts. Chisa noticed it too and grew very concerned. The color of darkness. Dense emotions. I can see it all. Even if she's not showing it, she's furious. So, she went over to check on Elia, who was sitting on top of a monster. Elia, how have you been lately? She didn't seem any different as she turned back with a bright smile, her voice cheerful. Huh? Lately? Nothing special, really. Chisa asked worriedly. Still, if something's bothering you, I can help. Even though Elia acted fine, the black mass in front of her chest proved otherwise. What are you talking about? Nothing's wrong. That only made her more worried. You say that, but I'm afraid your emotions might get the better of you. Chisa continued to press her. I know something is bothering you. When Elia could no longer bear it, she sat down by a tree and sighed. Elia's voice was soft but clearly tired as she said sadly, Is it that obvious? I can never lie to you. After a while, Chisa summarized what Elia had just shared. He keeps putting distance between us. And all I want is to be friends with him, Elia said with a hint of frustration. Even though we've been through so much together recently, I don't think he needs to create such a boundary between us. Chisa then asked, could it be that's not Dot's real intention? Hearing this, Elia was surprised. Not his real intention? What do you mean? Chisa immediately explained. He's just a boy from a minor baronet family. If you, a warrior candidate, were seen with him, it would surely cause a lot of gossip. Elia realized the issue immediately. Is this his way of trying to help me? Chisa replied, that's right. He's probably worried he might cause unnecessary misunderstandings. She gave a faint smile. Even if he's keeping his distance now, once your reputation is solidified, I'm sure he still considers you an important friend. As Elia started to ponder this, she asked, you think so? Cutting to another scene. Dot was running for his life as if being chased by something, constantly glancing behind him as he fled. Meanwhile, the system kept announcing, La Lane's fury is reaching its limit. You have subjected him to immense humiliation. A sharp spear came flying towards him as the system continued. Your negative influence has become permanent. The system then announced, you have activated the rule of evil and received a command reward. La Lane, holding his spear, charged forward as if on a rampage, screaming, you bastard, I'll kill you. He shouted in fury. I'll turn you into a shish kebab. Immediately, La Lane unleashed a barrage of spear thrusts at Dot. Dot had to run and dodge. Missing his target repeatedly only made La Lane angrier, and he roared, stop running. Fight like a real man. Why do you keep stealing the final blow after I've done most of the damage? Then, Dot suddenly turned around and held up a hand. Wait, stop. One of La Lane's feet stopped just in time. Dot called out to La Lane, who froze in confusion. With a sly look on his face, Dot said, in that case, want to split the loot? After hearing this, La Lane was so furious he smashed a nearby tree and screamed, you bastard! And Dot took this chance to make a run for it. La Lane immediately gripped his spear and gathered lightning around it, preparing to launch an attack. Go. Terran immediately threw his spear, but it was blocked by a sword and split in two. Both men were stunned by the sight. It turned out Elia was the one who had sliced the spear into pieces with her sword. She growled threateningly. Don't touch my friend. Elia frowned and warned, stay away from my friend. Terran was shocked to see this person appear, his voice filled with astonishment. Elia. Then he thought to himself, a warrior candidate. After that, he spoke up. Long time no see. This must be the first time we've met since we were runaway monsters. She immediately dashed forward. Elia held her sword to Terran's neck and replied coldly, wrong. This is the first time since you lost to me. At that moment, Dot was also completely surprised by her appearance. His face darkened. Where did she pop out from? With a sword held to his neck, he was sweating bullets in fear but still tried to act calm. It's so good to see you again. Elia didn't hesitate and asked, what were you just doing to Dot? Terran stammered. Huh. She immediately interjected, don't tell me you were harassing him. He wanted to defend himself. Elia, I was just. But she didn't let him finish his explanation. Elia tripped Terran, causing him to fall painfully to the ground. She stepped on Terran and pointed her sword down at him with a furious face, saying, I don't want to hear your excuses. Panicked, he quickly said, I get it, I understand. But why do you keep protecting him? Someone as talented as you. Elia couldn't care less. You don't need to concern yourself with who I befriend. At the same time, Dot tried to intervene from behind. Hey Elia, but she still wouldn't listen. I hate people who think they're better than others and then get angry at them. Then suddenly, Terran shouted, but he's deceiving all of us. He's only doing this to teach us a lesson. He's not the type to be cruel without reason. Dot isn't like that. Dot was confused. What? Elia glared and said, do you want to be taken down in one blow like last time? Terran froze, remembering the scene where he was knocked straight through a wall. What was that? Is that his true self? Could I have died that time? He then fell to his knees. Terran knelt sincerely, bowing his head respectfully. I'm sorry, Dot. I won't approach you again without permission. Let's try to get along. Then she nonchalantly walked past Dot, leaving him dazed and lost in thought. A true warrior candidate. She's really good at teaching people a lesson. I wonder if we can still be considered friends? At this point, I guess we're still friends. At least for now. Wait, that's not important right now. I still need to get my points for the assignment. Just as Dot was about to leave, a voice called out to him. Dot, we've met before, right? I'm Chi. Dot recognized her too and said she was Elia's friend. I remember. Chi began, I have something to ask you, but Dot's face looked very weary. In both the original story and now, she always drags out the conversation. She hesitated. Well, this might be a bit troublesome, but before she could say anything else, Dot left. He only left one sentence. Let me get my points first. she could only accept it. As if realizing something, she frowned and thought he made her fight Terran. Normally, she would try to resolve things by talking, not draw her sword from the very beginning. You're the problem. When Dot arrived at the place to get his points, the area was covered in dust and smoke. And the scene before him made Dot panic. What the hell is going on? Konjat and Elo had a fierce battle, resulting in her lying on the ground, unable to get up. As for him, he was still sitting steady. Seeing Dot, he spoke slowly. The damn president insisted on going into the forest, so I told her she had to get past me first. In the end, I won. Dot didn't know what to say. In his heart, he was extremely judgmental. This environment is completely insane. Despite that, Elo praised her. She's gotten better than before. Hey, are you planning to play dead? Konjat pleaded. Just punish her. Then Dot said cheerfully, that's right, I'm here to get my points. While Konjat was still lying there, the teacher and student chatted happily. He said, right, we're still in class. Let me see. Why did you bring back so much? He replied, it was nothing. It took a little time because I wanted to make sure I picked the best materials. Elo looked at the bag full of ores and said joyfully, perfect, you're the best. I'm sure Boy would love these things if you gave them to her. He then asked, you already have the wish agreement, so why not take this opportunity to score some points with her? As Dot tied up the bag, he replied, all right, I'll do that. Then she suddenly appeared, urging, are you done yet? Elo gave instructions before they left. All right, you can go now. Class is over. But Chi, please take care of her. She also agreed. Okay. Chi turned back and said everything in one breath with all her might. Dot, please take care of Elia, but don't be too nice to her. Every time she mentions you, she acts like she's lost her mind. I'm worried things will get even worse later on. After hearing this, Dot couldn't help but feel pensive. I'm grateful for the warning, and I'm starting to get a little scared, too. Before leaving, he gave a small wave to accept the other's offer. All right, don't worry. I'll do my best. As Chi Sa focused her healing powers, she thought he'd better, if he wants to survive this. As she treated Io, she couldn't help but think back on her best friend's face with a heavy heart. She might not realize it, but I do. If she takes one wrong step, she could cross a line she can't come back from. The scene shifts to the magic department in the afternoon. Bile was sitting with her legs crossed, sipping a cup of tea as she asked, you want to use your wish this soon? Dot immediately replied, that's right. I need something from the goddess of magic. She asked again, you can't wait any longer? At the same time, the others waited impatiently. It's not like you're the only one who worked to fulfill this request. Everyone else needs to do something too if you don't use your wish. He glanced at the people behind him and started to weigh his options. But to win the upcoming battle against the Purifier, I have to prepare everything I possibly can. But she continued, I've received orders from the headmaster to assist you as much as possible, as long as it's not for any other purpose. I'll do it. What do you want? He pressed his lips together, not answering right away. Just then, the system updated with new information. You have received a reward from Elia, 500 points. You have received an evil seed. You can exchange it for a special skill in the point shop. The list of purchasable skills has been updated. Elia's serious face appeared. Elia Kane, next, negates a debuff once. You can use the rule of evil once. Talium negates a debuff once. You can use the rule of evil once. Dot sank back into his thoughts. The effects of a special skill are much better than any item. For now, this is fine. But there are still so many things I need to prepare. Dot Campbell is still too weak to withstand the Purifier's varied attacks. That's why I need it. Dot let out a dry cough, and as if the world wasn't chaotic enough, he stated seriously, I need a cannon. A cannon that could blow this entire academy away. Bile's expression didn't change as she replied flatly, you're insane. She shot up from her seat, fuming. Are you out of your mind? Creating it is one thing, but where in the world do you plan on using it? He immediately raised a hand to voice his opinion. Oh, hold on, Professor. Dot held out the agreement so Bile had no room to argue. It clearly states in the agreement that you have to fulfill any ordinary request. Something as simple as this surely wouldn't be too difficult for the head of the magic department. She said, exasperated, you want me to build a weapon? That's not an ordinary request, he retorted. But a promise is a promise, isn't it? Then Dot added, I won't use it to harm anyone. There's just something I need to destroy in a single blow, or things will get very complicated. Bile shouted, that's what makes me even more worried, you idiot. But then she sighed and agreed. Fine, I'm sure you have your reasons. And since you did help deal with the recent monster outbreak, I'll make the cannon for you. Dot Campbell replied, thank you, Professor Bile. Then Bile continued, confusing him, I can't believe it. Not only do you have 4 people in your harem, but you also make others believe you're going to save the world. Dot asked, harem? Startled, she began to ramble. Wait, what's wrong with my head? Just talking to you is making me lose focus. This is all your fault. Dot tried to calm her down. Please, just calm down. I have one more request as part of my wish. Professor Bile, 30 years old and single, scratched her cheek after composing herself and asked, There's more. Dot crossed his arms and said, You promised Elia and me that you would give each of us one item from the Phantom Archives. Can I get it now? Having achieved his goal, he took his leave. He was now holding the agreement from earlier, lost in thought as he walked until he bumped into someone. Good, so I've gotten permission to build the cannon. Now I just need to gather the materials to make it. I can collect all of these materials using the interdimensional key. It seems like everything is going according to plan. A man with orange hair, leaning on a cane, approached him. He inquired, Hey kid, your name is Dot Campbell, right? He replied, Yes, that's right. Gadverb spoke. I didn't expect to run into you here. What a coincidence. Then the old man introduced himself. I am Gadverb. I run the Purifier's Charity Foundation. Dot pressed his lips together in silence, but inwardly he was cursing. What a joke. That so-called foundation is nothing but a front for laundering money. Gadverb is the final boss of this chapter. The Purifier. He's the leader of the Flames of Wrath. Gadverb handed him a business card and said, I've actually heard a few rumors about you. You single-handedly stopped a monster from escaping. That's not something an ordinary person could do without either incredible courage or extraordinary skill. I'm truly impressed. And you still remain so expressionless. Gadverb said slyly, Whenever I meet an extraordinary student like you, I always wonder what their future holds. I would very much like to have dinner with you. Are you free? I'm quite eager to have a chat. Dot immediately shut down the idea. I think right now is a good enough time to talk. He was instantly wary of Gadverb, just like. In the original story, this guy was supposed to approach Elia and bother her. But why is he coming after me? Don't tell me this system thinks I'm the main character. He thought, no way, it can't be. Then scratched his head and replied, I'll think about it. After that, the man left, giving him the location. Meet me at the Twilight Eye in 3 days. I'll be waiting for you. Hearing this, Dot cursed inwardly in frustration. Hey, I said I'd think times about it. Damn it, the Twilight Eye is a high-end restaurant right outside the academy. The business card in his hand was dazzling. It hurt his eyes. Fine, I'll go. It's not like I have a choice. He figured that, realistically, there was no way for him to avoid this main event. Before, everything was simply a matter of yes or no. What I can do, what I know, what I don't know. All the related factors and risks. If I consider everything in this situation, defeating the Purifier isn't impossible. But I still don't understand why I have to take on Elia's role. Maybe we messed everything up from the very beginning. For now, I'll just worry about the present. Everything else can be dealt with later. Then, Dot gathered all his courage and knocked on the door. After knocking, his expression grew even more tense. He called out, Elo, are you there? Elo came out to open the door and asked, Dot, what are you doing here? He quickly replied, You don't have to come out. I just have something small to talk about. Elo's voice came from inside. Dot coughed a few times and then struggled to ask, Are you free in 3 days? Elo asked back, In 3 days? A figure behind her spoke up, Ah, you need to return your books on time, President. The girl with glasses said, annoyed, You haven't even read a single one of them. You just let them collect dust. Did you check them out just to look at the covers? Before the girl with glasses could finish, Ella raised a finger to stop her. Do I have to pay late fees because of you? The two of them fell silent, listening to Dot speak from the other side of the door. President, on that day, I'd like you to spare some time to go somewhere with me. Elo immediately asked back, With you? Just the two of us? He replied, That's right. Her voice came from inside again. Where are we going? Dot answered immediately, but was cut off mid-sentence by a shout. There's a place called the Twilight Eye. Do you know it? The girl with glasses shouted, Hey, that place is famous for being a dating spot. Elo said, I know. So why do you want me to go with you? He said, Well, I'll tell you when we meet, on that day. That sentence made her blush shyly. Then, from behind the door, Elo asked again, Are you treating? A voice called out, echoing, Elia. Amidst the clear blue sky and a field of flowers stretching out beneath the mountains, the call rang out, Elia. Finally, he found Elia. There you are. But she just turned her back to him and said sulkily, Shut up. Canvan backed down and pleaded, Hey. I said I was sorry. I won't tease you anymore. Elia frowned and turned to look at him, her body covered in dirt and scratches. With resentful tears welling in her eyes, she looked at him and said, Liar. Elia shouted accusingly, You think pushing me down a hill is a joke? Canvan scratched his head in embarrassment but still tried to act tough. Well, next time, I'll just attack you while you're still on the ground. Hearing that made her sob even more. Stop bullying your little sister, he burst out laughing. I was just kidding. Canvan said, trying to make an excuse. I just want you to get stronger. You dummy. I don't want my little sister to be defeated by anyone. Elia shouted angrily. I don't need it. Seeing that his little sister's mood hadn't improved, he offered her a small, full brown pouch. Here, try some of these cookies I brought from the Baron's house. The silhouettes of the two siblings stood out against the sun on the hill. She bent down to open the pouch and look inside. Did you steal these? Canvan put his hands on his hips and looked down. Hey, don't say I stole them. I just took the leftovers. Elia munched on the cookie in her hand, listening to him as she ate. Thanks to the Baron, I might be promoted to a squire immediately. She wondered, and then what? Canvan answered casually, I'll go to the battlefield. The brilliant late-day sun began to disappear behind the high mountains. In the middle of the vast field, his voice, filled with excitement, rang out. I'll have the chance to experience new things and explore this world. Who knows? Maybe I'll even earn the title of a guardian. Elia chewed her cookie, puffing her cheeks out in disdain. Dream on. How can someone who bullies his little sister all day become a guardian? Canvan quickly retorted. Hey, who says there's a law that people have to stay in one place forever? The sunlight grew even brighter. The sky was painted a brilliant orange. If you go fight, will you die? Well, if I'm unlucky, I might, but I'm pretty good, so that probably won't happen. Elia puffed out her cheeks, glancing around as she sulkily scolded him. I hope you have bad luck and just drop dead. Just go. You're always teasing me, always bothering me. You never listen to mom and dad. All you do all day is pick up a sword and go fight. Even so, he just smiled fondly at his little sister, continuing to listen to her curses. I hope death is waiting for you. The figures of the two siblings sitting side by side seemed small amidst the vast landscape of hills and the brilliant orange sky. Canvan made a promise. Hey, if I become a guardian, he will always be there to protect her. The time and scene change as she groggily awakens to the sound of a persistent voice. Elia, Elia. With a face that's not yet fully awake, Elia walks over and opens the door. What is it? It's Dot. He stands outside the room, awkwardly scratching his head, not daring to look her straight in the eye. Sorry. I'm from the countryside, so I'm still not used to everything here. What I said about not being friends with you, I'm sorry. I brought some cookies from the kitchen. They look pretty good. But Elia's response startles him, and he grimaces awkwardly. Why are you apologizing? That's not cool at all. We're friends. Anyway, go to sleep. Dot hesitantly stops her. Wait, I need you to help me with something. Can you come with me for a little while? Dot urges. It's urgent. Elia frowns in annoyance, cursing inwardly. Is he insane? The scene changes again, where a slender hand swiftly writes letters across a page. Elo sits up straight and stops writing, thinking about what the other person said. So, we've handled all the teaching materials. She considers it seriously. I'll also double-check the fees from the clubs. Elo's close, brown-haired student gently adjusts her glasses to review the report. The only thing left is the matter of the transfer student. I heard we're getting a student from the tribal union. She belongs to a sect that collapsed after a coup. She must be the daughter of one of the tribal leaders. Now, they're basically exiles. She'll have a lot of attendants with her as well. But in reality, her entire family is seeking asylum here. Her name is Lilugata. Have you ever heard of her? I hear she's quite famous. An image of a strong, fierce Lilugata appears, throwing a powerful kick that forms a large shield in front of her. She slowly opens her eyes, revealing ruby-red pupils. I probably have. On the memo board, 4 items have been checked off amid the densely packed text. Only the last item was left with nothing but a question mark. The silhouette of the saintess, holding her staff, stands with her head held high before countless followers of the Holy Church. It appears in her report. And next semester, a true saintess from the Holy Empire will be arriving. Elo asks softly, coming in person? The brown-haired student removes her glasses and speaks with a hint of worry. They say a whole delegation will accompany her, but with the way things are being handled, the headmaster probably pulled some strings. She sits upright in her chair, leaning against a desk cluttered with books. Elo is lost in thought. A saintess and the daughter of a tribal leader. She drops her pen forcefully onto the heavily inscribed page. Elo closes her eyes, convinced that this academy is definitely plotting something. First, there was Lilugata with her striking blue hair. Then, a mysterious saintess with jet black hair, followed by Elia with her cold, beautiful face, and finally, the boy who's always the same, President. She realizes with a start. Oh, I forgot. She holds the notebook in her hand, bewildered by Elo's attitude. Why are you so worried about that? It's not like you've only been here a day or two. Elo just remains silent, staring intently into space. Her soft voice rings out under the dark sky, illuminated by the moon and stars. I'm just in a bad mood. The scene shifts back to Dot. He looks up excitedly, surprised that the school even has an observatory. Dot is still marveling. The night sky is so beautiful. Elo glares over at him, annoyed. Dot, do we really have to do this right now? Dot holds a controller in his hand, trying to convince Elo. I have no other choice. This is the only way to make everything fit perfectly. All right, wait a second. This huge contraption is his plan. With the catapult I got from the armory, we can get to that place. Even though this is an area for high-level players only, I have this secret card the headmaster gave me. She still doesn't understand his intentions. What are you planning to do in the middle of the night? Dot answers Elia's suspicion with just 2 sentences. All right, let's go. As soon as he finished speaking, a deafening, fiery explosion erupted. He seriously braced his arms and legs into a flying posture. Meanwhile, she panics, screaming as she flies. By now, her face is pitifully distorted. Dot calls out in concern. Elia, focus. Open your eyes. Space suddenly rips apart, creating a bizarre, circular, red portal. Both of them fly straight into that crimson space. He holds up the black card, smiling smugly. This is the location of the spatial link gate. We're about to enter. Don't worry, Elia. The image of Kanvan's familiar smile appears again. Hey, why do you keep crying? What are you afraid of? Look at me, Elia. Finally, the panic on her face subsides a little. Dot continues to reassure her. It might be a little dangerous. The 2 small, dark figures venture deeper into the strange space. As everything around them seems to twist and distort, finally, the portal vanishes, leaving only a brilliant red streak that slowly shrinks in the dark sky. Everything falls silent again. As Elia flies into this space, she winces and shuts her eyes against the painfully bright light. She clenches her jaw, trying to endure it. We don't have much time. In contrast, Dot is filled with excitement, looking all around. This is the interdimensional space. Try not to touch anything. It can be very dangerous. This is dangerous. Dot leaped up, twisting his body to fly along the floating pieces of rock. She grabbed onto a boulder and turned to yell angrily. Dot, what are you doing? But he just laughed carefree as he drifted with the flow. Don't worry, the gravity here is unstable. Besides, we need to get a bit higher anyway. Elia scowled. What are you looking for? He gave a mysterious wink. You'll find out soon enough. Just jump. Look, the rocks are being pushed back. Waves of mystical bubbles drifted through the colorful space, but her screams echoed through it all. Are you insane? If we fall, we're definitely dead. Elia hid fearfully behind a boulder, glancing around as Dot urged her on. We're not going to die. Just jump. She finally launched herself from the boulder. Her body went into a free fall through the open space. Terrified, Elia squeezed one eye shut, trying to bear it with the other one open. She couldn't stop her face from contorting in fear. Am I falling? Elia flailed about, struggling in a panic in mid-air as she opened her mouth to scream in terror. Her mind drifted back to a moment when a voice was calling out, Elia, Elia. Amidst the crackling flames, she tried to answer, I'm here, brother. Kanvan's voice echoed from within the blaze. It's too dangerous here. We have to get out the back door and run to the granary, now. A small, trembling Elia was covered in blood, her clothes and face stained as she tightly gripped a sharp axe. Are we going to leave Mom and Dad behind? He shielded Elia and snapped back. We have to go. I'll handle Mom and Dad. As the flames roared ever higher, Kanvan warned her, if you see any descendant of the apocalypse, just hide. Her tiny hand clutched the hem of his clothes. But, what about you? Tensely, Kanvan turned to look back at Elia. Covered from head to toe in blood, she couldn't hold back anymore, and tears streamed down her face as she sobbed. Mom and Dad are dead, aren't they? I'm not an idiot. Mom and Dad are gone. It's just us now. If you die, too, then what am I supposed to do? That's why we have to escape together. He turned away, his broad back shielding Elia as she clung to his clothes, his voice resolute. You fool. If I go with you, it'll only put us in more danger. And besides, before I'm your brother, I am a guardian. Don't think. Don't worry. Just run as far away as you possibly can. Don't worry. As long as you make it to safety, we'll meet again. On the hill where I always practice. Her small hand tightened its grip as Kanvan pressed her. Answer me, Elia. Through her tears, Elia let go of his shirt and sobbed quietly. Yes. The dark green hem of Kanvan's clothes billowed in front of her. All right, calm down now. It's all going to be okay. Now run, little sister. I'll be right behind you. Her flashback was cut short when Dot grabbed her by the arm. Her reproachful voice rang out. So, where is this gravity you mentioned? With one hand gripping the cliff face, he pulled Elia up with the other, a teasing smile still on his face. You're falling pretty slowly, you know. She had lost all composure from the sheer terror. You should have explained it better. I almost died, but Dot remained completely calm, gently soothing her. Calm down, Elia, you'll get used to it. Look up there. I found what we came for. The two of them sat perched on a floating rock, observing everything in this interdimensional space. A strange, rainbow-colored object was weaving its way through the layers of bubbles. The Phantom of Jisbayon. Dot tossed a bag to a bewildered Elia. He excitedly grabbed one for himself as well. Here, take this. The Phantom of Jisbayon was slowly drawn into the bag, startling Elia. What is this? What am I supposed to do with it? Dot quickly tied his bag shut. We're going to have to run in a minute. We'll use this when we do. She was completely confused. Huh? Run away? He turned back to her and asked excitedly, do you see that? There was a faint, dark shadow against the magical pink and blue sky. Dot slung the bag over his shoulder, his body arching as he floated in the air. Elia hugged the bag, standing bewildered on the rock. Huh? It's just the sky. Suddenly, the entire space plunged into darkness. The two of them froze solid. A maw of sharp teeth opened wide, lunging toward them and making them recoil in horror. Dot's face creased in alarm. A creature from the interdimensional zone. I guess it's time for us to go. Elia's eyes flew open in terror. The monster, with glowing red eyes, lunged at them like a flash, its jaws snapping wide. He said urgently, out of nowhere, we need to ensure that it's released. She had no idea what he was talking about. Huh? Elia clenched her jaw against the rushing wind and opened her bag, releasing its contents. Like this? Ugh. This feels so weird. The danger was closing in. The massive monster's sharp fangs were inches away from them. Waves of spatial energy rippled outward. They passed right through it, landing heavily on solid, familiar ground. Dot sighed in relief. Just as I planned. It worked perfectly with the card's active time. He asked worriedly, Elia, are you all right? Are you hurt anywhere? Their hands were clasped together and drenched in sweat. He glanced over at her. Well, but Elia, drenched to the bone, coldly snatched her hand away from Dot's. She spoke, exhausted, don't tell me this was all. Hey, did you plan all of this from the beginning? Even our escape? He smiled brightly. Of course. Everything is going according to plan. The strategy to clear the ghost early was pretty easy for a long-time player like me. But then Elia asked a question that stunned Dot. You. How did you know we'd end up in the interdimensional space? He jumped, his eyes widening. Huh? I thought you wouldn't follow me here. She hoisted the bag up and set it down in front of him, much to Dot's own bewilderment. I'm sure I can trap it. I can't believe you woke me up just for this. Dot watched Elia's retreating back and then hesitated. Thank you. And I'm sorry for not telling you beforehand. I'm sorry. But then, the familiar blue notification window suddenly appeared. System notification. Elia's affection level has increased rapidly. Interest level, 4. He was completely baffled, still kneeling on the ground with the two bags beside him. Huh? He had no idea that she was actually walking away with a faint, satisfied smile on her face. Dot couldn't understand it. Wait, why did her affection level go up? But back when they were holding hands and flying through the interdimensional space, Elia couldn't take her eyes off his handsome face and dazzling smile. In that moment, she had hastily looked away, but her blushing cheeks betrayed her true feelings. Atan had just finished training. Tiny beads of sweat dotted her elegant, ageless face, and she held a hair tie in her mouth. She looked at Dot and asked doubtfully, What is this? Glancing at the bag he brought, she continued, Is it what I think it is? Dot didn't answer directly, replying calmly, I don't know what you're thinking, but it's a spiritual entity. Atan deftly tied up her sweat-dampened hair and asked curiously, So, does that mean it entered the interdimensional realm? Dot wasn't clear on the situation, so he just replied, That's right. He held up the black card in his hand and asked her, Isn't that why you gave this to me? Atan looked at him with a troubled expression and asked hesitantly, I didn't think you would use it so quickly. More importantly, what happened to your hair? With his hair standing on end and frizzy as if he'd been electrocuted, Dot frowned and gave a resigned smile, saying, Dinby hit me with lightning. Ignoring his embarrassment, he got to the main point. They're in the process of transporting the ectoplasm that we retrieved from the interdimensional realm. Hearing this, she pondered for a moment before saying, A spiritual entity, you say? Barry will probably be very surprised. Even though she's a witch, she's quite timid, she said, pointing to the brown bag that was brought. So, is this enough? Atan didn't answer, instead asking back, Enough? You said you'd give me another gift if I satisfied you. Seeing that this gift was quite valuable, she looked at Dot and asked, The magic tower would be willing to spend a fortune to obtain this. So why are you giving it to me? Understanding her confusion, he explained, It's not exactly a gift, but a request. Spiritual entities are the consciousness of great individuals with extraordinary achievements. I want you to merge an entity into an item. Atan Anti said thoughtfully. If I do that, the consciousness within it will gradually awaken and grow stronger. A truly bold decision. Dot, you have chosen correctly. Seeing that his request might be accepted, Dot began to ask, the item will be. Before he could finish, Atan Anti cut him off. Before that, let me ask you something. She looked curiously at the young man before her. As if trying to peer deep inside him, she asked slowly, "Why are you doing this? You defeated Sershan, a warrior candidate, in a single blow without a weapon. You also held off a horde of monsters by yourself. Why are you so focused on becoming this strong?" In response to her rather personal question, he hesitated and thought, "It's because the bugs that appear in the main storyline are all Demon King level. This story will eventually revolve around Illo and Elia, and I've accidentally gotten involved with both of them." And deep down, he knew he obviously couldn't say any of that out loud. Hesitating without answering, Dot asked back, "Well then, I have a question too. Why are you giving me so much special treatment?" Atan raised her big, beautiful, round eyes to look directly at the young man and asked back, "What do you mean?" Dot replied seriously, "Surely you have many things you want to ask me. How did I know the location of the interdimensional realm? How did I know about spiritual entities? How did I defeat Elia? Or how did I stop the horde of monsters? I know things that a normal student could never possibly know. Not to mention I'm only a first-year student. But lately, I feel like the entire academy is revolving around me. I know this might sound dramatic, but I truly feel that my studies and even my daily life are all being influenced by you. Headmaster, it's as if I'm being led to do exactly what you want. You're favoring me to this extent. What is it you ultimately want from me?" After listening to his confession and question, Atan Anti became a little displeased and lectured him in a cold voice. "Is that any way to speak to the headmaster, student Dot? I don't particularly like that attitude, but it seems you become self-aware, haven't you? You ask why I give you such special treatment. The truth is, perhaps it's simply because you're cute." Dot, both flustered and confused by her attitude, could only scratch his head in bewilderment. He wondered to himself, "What the? I haven't told her anything. So why is she? Anyway, she agreed to help me merge a spiritual entity into an item. If I increase the synchronization rate, the spiritual entity will awaken, and if I continue to nurture it, it will be extremely useful from Chapter 2 onwards. But before that, the main quest of Chapter 1, the Purifier, is to resolve the upcoming incident at Twilight Eyes. I have to complete this mission first." He was looking around when suddenly a voice called out from behind him, "You're here, Dot." He turned toward the voice and replied, "Ah, President, did I keep you waiting long?" Elo calmly applied lipstick to her beautiful lips and said, "Not at all. Not long, just about 6 hours." Looking at the stunningly beautiful and captivating girl in a rose-red dress standing before him, he couldn't take his eyes off her as he asked, "You look completely different from how you did at the new student welcoming ceremony." Dot thought to himself with a pang of guilt, 6 hours. That means she's been here since before the sun even set. The girl gently tucked away a few loose strands of hair, walked over to him, and said, "It's been a while since I've been to a place like this, so I took the opportunity to find a good spot." Hearing her say that, he thought to himself, "She's being way too considerate." Elo gently asked him, "This is your first time off campus, isn't it? You're a first year, right?" He answered shyly, Yes, that's right." She moved closer to him and chided gently, "Why aren't you looking me in the eyes?" It was the first time a girl had acted this way towards him. Dot was so shy and embarrassed, he was speechless. Meanwhile, his inner voice was screaming, "This is the first time I've ever gone out alone with a girl off campus. To be honest, this is nothing like the new student welcoming ceremony. Isn't this a date?" Was she trying to tease him, or did she really want an answer? Elo suddenly took his hand. Before Dot could get over his shock, she was already pulling him along, saying, "Let's go. The line is really long." Ahead of them was a noisy crowd filled with complaints. "Oh my god, don't push. Why isn't this line getting any shorter?" The two of them stood at the back, holding hands, and said to each other, "It's more crowded than I thought." Looking at the long line ahead, Dot said worriedly, "Are we even going to get in?" At the ticket counter, Tae-in was shouting angrily, "Number 27. If I have to call number 27 one more time, I'm canceling ticket 27. All right, off the list. Next, number 28, you may enter." Dot walked up and saw the blonde young man checking tickets, asking in surprise, "Ha, Taeyun, what are you doing here?" Looking even more surprised, he replied, Well, Sir Dot, you remember me. I'm working part-time here. My family doesn't send me an allowance, you know." "Oh, so the student council is here too?" Elo listened silently to their conversation. Taeyun's eyes widened as he looked at Dot and asked curiously, "Sir Dot, may I ask you something? What is the relationship between you and the president, that you two have come here together?" Just then, the guard behind them shouted, "Number 29, you may enter." Hearing the question, he turned his head toward her, pretending to think before answering. "Our relationship, you ask?" Then he started panicking internally. "That's right, why did I come here with the president? Isn't this a date?" Elo didn't answer, instead asking a question of her own, "Part-timer, can I enter using my authority as the student council president?" Taeyun quickly replied, Of course, you can. Dot suddenly noticed something on his friend's neck and asked, "Wait a minute, Tae-young, are you wearing a necklace?" Tae-young held out the necklace and said, "Huh? A necklace? Yes, I am wearing one. It's from the Purification Society, you know, Marquis Giverback's group." Just then, the system displayed a notification, activating skill, authority on the conversation target. Dot pointed at the necklace and warned him, "Yes, that's the one. Don't wear it today." Tae-young didn't understand and asked, "Huh?" But Dot continued, "I'm serious. Don't wear it today." Tae-young looked at him, confused, but still agreed. I understand." Dot began to ponder. After increasing Elo's and Elia's favorability, the main storyline has changed. Now I have to redirect Marquis Giverback's favorability towards myself. The chances of me just having a meal and leaving are zero. The story has taken a different turn. Suddenly, a cane tapped the ground in front of him, interrupting his train of thought. A deep, gravelly voice rang out. "Oh, if it isn't Lady Chi, Sotan, and Student Dot." Looking at the man before him, he thought to himself, "Well then, I'd better at least prepare a countermove." The screen displayed a notification. Main Quest 1. The villain is trying to recruit you. Deftly escape this situation. Marcus Giverback stood leaning on his cane and said gravely to Elo, "My lady, I'd like to borrow Student Dot for a moment. I have something to discuss with him." Hearing this, she was slightly stunned and asked, "What?" But a second later, Elo immediately refused. "And who gave you permission?" However, before she could finish her sentence, Dot quickly stopped her from behind. "It's all right, President." "Fine," he agreed. The old man quickly continued, "Please, come to the private VIP room." At that moment, Dot took the chance to whisper something in Elo's ear, causing her to frown in thought. She turned to look at him with a slightly surprised expression. He reassured her, "My lady, it will only take a moment. It seems you're quite close with the daughter of the Shi Sotan family. Student Dot, if your conversation is over, please follow me." The scene changes to the two of them sitting and talking in private, with a gin martini placed in front of Dot. Marquis Gade began the conversation. "You probably know why you were summoned here, don't you?" Dot, perhaps not wanting to waste time, calmly asked back, "Ah, you're probably planning to drone on about some nonsense regarding the revival of a demon, right? Public order will be weak during the full moon festival, so you plan to use this opportunity to cause a massacre. You'll use that blood and death to absorb a powerful source of dark mana. By releasing monsters in various places, you'll have the knights pinned down by ambushing assassins. Your plan is to sow chaos and terror to awaken the demons slumbering in the Chizerton family's bloodline. The assassinations and the terror caused by the monsters were your doing from the very beginning. But I have to wonder, I've already reported this entire plan to the headmaster. So what do you plan to do now?" Gade's eyes widened as he shouted, "What?" The old man didn't know how he knew his plan in such detail. Recalling what that person had said, he thought to himself, "Now I understand why the prophet was so interested in him. He seems harmless on the outside, but inside, he's incredibly cunning and strategic. He's no ordinary person." The old man looked at his seemingly innocent and youthful face and muttered, "Unbelievable. My subordinates have already subdued the young lady. I'm sure you didn't account for that, did you?" The moment those words left his mouth, Elo kicked the door open and stormed in, sword in hand, as if to refute his claim. Seeing her covered in blood, the old man stammered in disbelief, shouting, "What? How could the daughter of the Chizerton family?" A few minutes earlier, as Dot was following Gade, someone suddenly called out, "Elo, Lady Chizerton, follow me. You have somewhere else to be." At that moment, Dot's whispered words came to her mind. "A group of dark cultists is about to attack you. You've been having problems with your madness lately, haven't you? No matter what happens, just let it out once in a while." Elo said coldly, "According to Imperial law, it's not a problem to report after dealing with heretic cultists." From behind her, one of the old man's subordinates gripped her ivory shoulder and sneered, "But will you have the strength to deal with them?" Suddenly, the man's face stiffened as he felt a powerful murderous aura being released from Elo. She simply replied quietly, "I will hold my own." Elo's mental state was also changing rapidly. In an instant, her eyes turned a brilliant red, glowing in the darkness. Only the man behind her, still oblivious, continued his long-winded threats. "Now hurry up. We have to take you alive. That person is still talking, so you best be obedient." Then suddenly, a hand shot out and grabbed his head. Instantly, everyone in the room was startled by Elo. Using just one hand, she slammed the man's face straight down onto the dining table, knocking him unconscious. At this, the remaining subordinates around them gritted their teeth, drew their weapons, and cursed as they prepared to charge all at once. "You bitch." The subordinates surrounded Elo from all sides, discussing amongst themselves. "Don't kill her. We have to stick to the plan. Minor injuries are fine." They shouted to each other and then began to charge at her all at once. In the deep darkness, only Elo's blood-red eyes flashed dangerously. Fighting left and right, she single-handedly beat them until they were crying for their mamas. The more she fought, the more frenzied her eyes became. The red in her eyes seemed to be stained with death. Her sword moved as if part of a deadly symphony, lightly gliding past to claim the lives of these men. Marquis Gade's subordinates couldn't even fight back. They could only scream in despair. Killing one after another like the Grim Reaper, her small figure darted through the room, causing many to draw their swords and curse. Damn it all. The clash of weapons created a piercing sound. Anyone who faced her head-on was no match for her strength, so there was only one inevitable outcome. Swords cracked and shattered, just like the lives of those who dared to scheme against her. With a scythe in hand, Elo performed a frenzied dance of death, wiping out the entire group of subordinates, leaving not a single one alive. Witnessing the scene of carnage before him, Gade's face was still panicked with disbelief as he uttered, "Impossible." Meanwhile, Dot asked anxiously, "President, are you all right?" Wiping the blood from her sword, she nodded and replied, "May. I feel quite refreshed." At that moment, a notification appeared on Dot's screen. Elo's favorability has reached friend level. Her madness has improved thanks to you. She turned her head to glance at him and said in a low voice, "But with things like this, our outing has been ruined. You'll have to go with me again, okay?" Dot received another notification. Special quest unlocked. You have caught the eye of Gideon. Hearing the notification sound, instead of being happy like previous times, the content this time truly made his heart skip a beat. Huh? Why is Elo's father interested in me? Oh well, I have to finish the mission first. But things couldn't end there. Although Gade knew that the plan he had so meticulously prepared had failed, the old man. He took out an ancient-looking gem and growled angrily, "I can't believe I have to use this." Hearing those words and seeing the stone in the old man's hand, Dot thought in surprise, the dark essence. Why would it show up now? He immediately reacted, shouting, "Chairman, you have to stop him before he absorbs that thing." This startled her, and she looked over in confusion, but the warning was too late. Gan had already popped the gem into his mouth and whispered a sentence, "I shall receive the grace of the gods." Under the full moon, the scene outside the restaurant remained deceptively peaceful. But just a moment later, a sinister, dark energy, filled with a malevolent aura, suddenly erupted from inside the restaurant. Then, everything exploded into a pile of rubble. A hand reached up from within the chaotic wreckage after the sudden blast. Just as Dot was dragging his battered body out of the building's ruins, a loud, mocking laugh echoed through the air. Excellent. He struggled to lift his head, squinting toward the source of the voice. It was Gan. Not only his voice, but his entire body had changed. He had completely transformed into a demon. "I wasn't planning on using this drug until the prophet was dealt with. Damn it. Can we even handle this thing?" Based on his past experiences and the game information he knew, a demon that absorbs demonic essence can use a portion of a devil's power. A demon from the very first chapter? This world is insane. The game system announced a mission for him along with a reminder. Defeat the failed purifier. Failure will occur if there are too many casualties. Up above, Gan felt the immense power coursing through his body. He howled with delight, like a wolf baying at the full moon for its pack. From now on, the purification begins. Dot looked around, sighing in frustration. Damn it, the problem isn't just him. The Monado, the demon worshippers that Elo had dealt with, had been resurrected. As Dot looked on, the bodies of the old man's followers had also transformed. They had become demons with bloodthirsty eyes, seemingly under his control. They all charged towards him in unison, reacting swiftly. In that instant, Dot yelled and created a stream of blue light that shot straight toward the Monado monsters. It was Dot's finishing move, the piercing thrust, which sent them flying. He frowned in confusion at the sight. From above, the loud laughter rang out again. Amidst the desolate scene, Talain approached with the guild master. He scratched his head, asking a barrage of surprised questions. What the hell is going on? What are these monsters? And where is Marcus Chiverba? In response, his friend joked, "Oh, so you saw my technique, did you? I'm eagerly awaiting your feedback." Then Dot explained, "They're all your comrades who have been transformed." He looked at the monsters and continued, "If you wear that necklace, you'll end up just like them." Hearing this, the man's entire body began to tremble uncontrollably. "What?" Talain looked over at Dot and asked. "Don't tell me this was a situation set up by the Marcus himself." He nodded in response and spoke clearly to his friend. "That's right. If you don't want to witness a true hell, you'll do exactly as I say from now on." Quickly understanding the gravity of the situation, Talain hastily nodded in agreement but still asked, "I get it. But what about you, Dot? What are you going to do?" Dot replied, "I have to go take care of something else. I need to protect the civilians and stop the Marquis." His words made Elo turn his head back, marveling in admiration at Dot's fighting ability even in such a disastrous situation. He urged them on. "Anyway, let's go, Talain." Hearing the plea, Talain realized he wouldn't be much help if he stayed, So the two of them quickly ran off. Right. After he left, Elo looked over at Dot and asked, "Do you know where the Marquis went?" He wiped his mouth with his hand and coughed, thinking of an answer. "Yeah, I have a hunch." Dot looked at the energized Monado standing under the moonlight and voiced his suspicion. The goal of demon worshippers is always the same. They spread despair and chaos everywhere and bring pandemonium, the land of demons, to this world. There's only one place he would target. At that same moment, Gan had flown up to a yellow energy barrier. Looking at the massive barrier in front of him, he didn't feel confident that he could destroy it. Even if I can't break the entire protective barrier, I can at least inflict some damage. With that, Gan quickly began to compress dark power into a sphere in his palm. In a flash, the black sphere grew larger, emitting an oppressive aura that would make anyone who came near tremble in fear. Suddenly, Dot's cold voice rang out from behind. "All right, stay right there." Hearing this, Gan was somewhat astonished. Not hiding his surprise, he turned around and asked, "Dot, how did you know? Are you a dragon?" He gave a scornful smile at the old man's surprise. It was obvious. Your actions are too predictable. You've gained the power of a demon, yet you're trying to leave the very place where evil is sealed. Due to the urgent situation, Dot was being carried on Elo's back as they rushed over. Seeing the two battered figures arrive, Gan wasn't panicked in the slightest. "Model, all the better. Thanks to you, I don't have to waste my time looking for him. Now, I just need to kill all of you and protect the princess." He looked at her and whispered in her ear, "No matter what happens, we have to survive. Understand?" She nodded, a bold idea forming in her mind. The level of trust he had shown her was honestly hard to get used to, but I have to live up to that trust. That is the pride of Chiso too. Seeing her like that, Gan didn't understand what she was planning to do and just exclaimed, "Princess." Right after that, Elo channeled her power into her sword and charged straight forward to confront that demon. While the two were battling in midair, Dot, down below, took the opportunity to run towards the net and shout, "Master, this way." Seeing the direction the man below was running, the demon Gan was startled. He concentrated dark energy in his hand, threw it towards him, and yelled, "Don't you dare touch it." From his position high above, he wouldn't let him be, continuously launching orbs of accumulated dark energy to attack, but it seemed Dot dodged every single one. Seeing that none of his attacks hit, his eyes widened in surprise as he exclaimed, "How is that possible?" While he was still distracted and focused on Dot, Elo's sword relentlessly attacked and had already almost pierced Gan. The situation was critical. He quickly snapped back to his senses and swung his arm to counter. The two powerful attacks collided, sending them both flying. His black energy streams from above rained down relentlessly, forcing Dot to do his best to defend himself while running as fast as he could to that spot. Seeing him focused on running, Gan chased closely behind, taunting him, "Fight, you filthy ant." Behind him, Elo also pursued relentlessly. He grew more and more irritated with the chase and shouted, "Stop just running away like that." Gan looked at Elo chasing behind him and felt annoyed. He thought to himself, "How annoying, princess." He was forced into a position where he had to deal with the two of them. At that moment, his entire body tensed up and began to unleash an incredibly powerful surge of energy, blasting both Dot and Elo away. Not stopping there, Gan channeled his power into an orb in front of his chest, causing it to glow brighter and brighter red. Immediately after, taking advantage of the moment Dot was knocked to the ground, he directly unleashed the claws of darkness. It was like a giant arrow formed from tens of thousands of black, dark rays, carrying destructive power and aimed straight at Dot. He roared, "I will finish you." An energy orb carrying immense power was showing signs of cracking. Dot's eyes widened as he gritted his teeth, stunned by the sight before him. Right after that, the black fragment slammed into the golden protective barrier, causing him to let out a loud scream. The scream made Elo turn her head to look. Just like that, Dot took the full force of the energy attack, and the golden protective barrier around him shattered. The direct hit was so painful his eyes rolled back, and his face contorted in agony. It was a devastating blow that sent him flying from the sky with a fateful scream. Finally, his body slammed into the ground with momentum. Covered in wounds, he could only groan helplessly. Seeing this from above, Gan laughed loudly. "There are more people here than I thought. Looks like you're out of tricks." "Huh." Elo bravely stood in front of Dot to protect him. "Get up. I'll buy you some time. Go on ahead." Seeing her resolute expression, he mocked her with excitement. "You two are certainly persistent. Lady of the Chi Sea Knights." He wore a smug expression, smirking sarcastically. "To be honest, you two are a match made in heaven." His words caused her to fall into deep thought for a few short seconds. All this time, I've only ever taken and never given. She suddenly recalled the moment Dot rushed to shield her. The next memory that flooded back was when he helped her fight back against the traitor. The image of him swinging his fist, shielding her from behind the golden barrier. Isn't it time for me to repay him, at least once? After some thought, Elo finally turned back and urged him to hurry. At that moment, a notification appeared. Life Force chain to increase durability. Health is regenerated. She slowly stepped forward, her body corrupted and black, her hand gripping the sword, which now emitted sparks of red lightning. I will trust you until the very end. In the darkness, Gan witnessed the touching scene between the young couple and felt the urge to crush it. How moving. So, is your little strategy session over now? Elo looked up at him without a hint of fear and posed a question. Marquis, let me ask you just one thing. In your eyes right now, him and I, do we make a good couple? This unexpected question made his face freeze, silent for a few seconds. But just as Gan was about to answer, a powerful, stormy attack suddenly struck him from out of nowhere. He lost his balance and was sent flying back to the earth, creating a cloud of dust. In the sky now, a dark figure appeared. With immense power, delivering blow after blow straight to the ground, creating a thunderous sound as it approached his body. After being hit by the attack, Gan coughed up a mouthful of fresh blood and cursed. That bastard, Dot. The old man didn't stop Dot from forcing himself up despite his injuries, cursing under his breath. The rats have all run away. Elo's eyes were now blazing red, and a thought suddenly flashed through her mind. Gade roared in a furious rage and charged straight for her. You hit him, didn't you? The scene suddenly shifts to the large mana cluster in the city. By now, Conrad and the others had completely wiped them out and brought the chaotic situation under control. He looked at the annihilated mana cluster, leaned on his sword, and nodded. It seems like everything has been more or less resolved. Not far away, Elo chimed in. It's a good thing all the department heads were here. If even one of them had been missing, we would have been in big trouble by now. Borsi, hovering in the air, frowned slightly in agreement. It's a good thing we listened to Dot and went with Professor Conrad. Conrad suddenly became thoughtful and analyzed the situation seriously. That guy only said he was going out for dinner nearby, but if we hadn't come, things would have been much worse, right? Under the bright, full moon in the sky, his words echoed through the quiet space. Could something this terrible really be a coincidence? Elsewhere, Dot was struggling with his newly recovered body, forcing himself to take difficult steps one by one. All right, I managed to pop it back into place. Suddenly, something that looked like a bell caught his eye. Seeing it, he quickly reached for it like a lifeline. This hurts like hell. Seriously. Dot reached out with a glimmer of hope, needing Elo to just hold on a little longer. Just as he thought that, he saw Elo's figure fly past his line of sight. Seeing her lying helplessly on the ground, Gade couldn't help but spit out some cruel words. Calling it brutal wouldn't be an exaggeration, my dear noble lady. Then, the old man suddenly looked over at Dot, making him break out in a cold sweat. And now, student Dot. The old man began to raise his hand, gathering a black ball of magical energy. Do you still have any other plans up your sleeve? If not. After speaking, he launched a powerful stream of black energy like a sword, piercing through Dot's slightly recovered body, causing fresh blood to spray everywhere. For a moment, Gade's voice still echoed in their ears. You will die. It all happened so fast that even though Elo had managed to get up, she couldn't react in time. In that horrifying moment, she seemed to turn to stone. The world around her suddenly froze, leaving only black and white. Gade was still gleefully gloating over the destruction he had just caused. The trees on both sides were suddenly thrashed back and forth by a violent gust of wind. Although the attack caused him great pain, it was the key that increased his energy. The system received a signal and sent a notification. Critical magic has been activated. His tightly shut eyes suddenly snapped open, glaring with a murderous aura. The system's voice rang out again. The target is beginning to show signs of heading towards you. As if sensing something, Dot quickly looked up and saw that Elo's appearance had completely changed. A pair of demon horns had sprouted from her head. The aura around her was completely different. Perhaps the demon inside her has awakened. That's all for now, folks. If you want to keep following this series, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. And while you're at it, gently tap that like button. Thanks for watching till the end, everyone.